I always get nervous if I'm missing something and it's actually we're just super lagged. But for me, it sounded great.
Yeah, actually, M's on the Ethernet again, and things are looking toasty. You are crisp as day, M, right now.
Thank you.
On
Well,
camera, no lag, nothing.
I finally, I don't keep your fingers crossed. If the Ethernet doesn't work, then we're just out of a job at this point. I don't know what to
Yeah,
tell you.
this is really our last ditch effort, I think. I found that somebody had like basically tied my internet up with yarn. You found out that yours just doesn't work well. I think I fixed mine. I think you fixed yours. We'll see.
I think I fixed mine. So far, I will say our episode last week was the best one. Was the only one that had like no problems lately. So
Well, that's not true because anybody who listened to it heard half of the intro.
oh,
Then then we said, "Oh, it's another day," and Christine's back in bed. And then
okay, post Ethernet in that episode, it ended up going really well.
Yeah. So today should be the first, like, I guess that recording session was our smoothest.
Yes,
Which
yes.
didn't necessarily cover the whole episode, but the second, yeah, I know what you mean. Anyway, why do you drink? Look at us, we're both wearing like the same color tie dye right now. That never
We're so
happens.
in sync. Also,
I thought you were gonna say insane, but in sync also works.
No, insane's normal. The in sync part is less often. What is yours? And then that's why we drink.
Yeah.
Very,
of course.
very beautiful.
It's the one. Folks, this is an Easter egg, I guess, or like a secret message. If you bought this on tour, this sweatshirt, which is, it's a light blue, gray and white tie dye with our On the Rocks logo on it. And if you bought this, please know it was actually a manufacturer error and it's printed inside out. And we didn't intentionally make it a fuzzy sweatshirt. The lining of the sweatshirt just somehow ended up on the outside. And we got them kind of for fun because we thought, oh God, well, actually, we got them because we wanted to make sure they weren't going to like fall apart immediately. And we wanted to, for the first time ever, actually quality control something, not just get it for free like usual. So we like all wore them and put them in the wash and they've stood the test of time. And for some reason, even though the fuzzy part's on the outside, it's like the coziest sweatshirt I own.
And I don't know how to ask them to fuck up again because
I know! That's the big problem. You're so right.
Anytime someone has ever asked, like we have had a few people at book signings like come up to us and say like that's the best sweatshirt in the world.
So creative.
Like, what is this? And it's like it was a whoopsie daisy.
I remember everybody was wearing it and I was like, am I high or, well, I mean, don't answer that, but like why on earth?
I think you were high when you realized it was inside out for the first time.
I'm sure I was. That's why my brain was so on point. And Eva was like, "No, I don't think so." And I was like, "Eva, you're like feel your arm. You're
and also feel the inside. The inside feels like the outside of a sweatshirt
material. Anyway, it's so if you got your hands on one of these, I've seen a couple in the wild, and I always tell them like that's a manufacturer error. It'll probably never happen again. But
limited run.
I know. I don't know if we have any left, but it's my favorite. Anyway, sorry, but we're wearing matching tie dye today, which never happens. I rarely wear tie dye.
You're wearing the tour sweatshirt, but I got this shirt on tour.
Okay, so what is it? I like the color combo.
It makes no sense for me.
It looks like somebody's high. I just saw like one eye. Oh!
It's literally called High Tide, and it's
what is it?
It's a
say
high,
underneath
it's a boat
High Tide.
Portsmouth, which is where we had our show.
Portsmouth. Oh, New Hampshire.
Oh, look, it's a boat that's Stony Baloney, a high tide.
He's like tug. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why I wanted this so badly.
Is that like
the
a
colors
brewery
spoke
or
out
something?
to me. I have no fucking clue. I don't know
why I'm asking so many questions, interrogating you.
I was just walking through Portsmouth, and I was going into like every tchotchke shop, and this t-shirt just spoke to me, and it's weirdly comfy. Like it's oversized.
Is it a boat? I forget already. Or is it a train? Because I kept saying chug, tug.
It's
and
a
then I was like, tugboat, not a choo-choo train. Okay, that's a boat. Yes. I can't tell. It kind of has wheels on. Oh, I thought those were wheels. Those are just life vests or life jacket, whatever.
Buoys or something.
I don't think any of the words we said were the right one, but you guys know what we mean. Lifesavers.
Yes, lifesavers for sure.
Yeah.
I get it. I know what you're saying.
But that's what they're called. That's why that candy's called that.
Makes sense. When I was a kid, my mom threw me a pool party and she made probably one of the best cakes I've ever seen, and it was out of blue jello with graham cracker crust, like look like a pool and a
Oh,
sand
I
and
made one
everything,
of those for my
and
sister once.
put the lifesavers in with little people.
I
Yeah.
put I used Teddy Grahams, and I made little, like, a
Yeah.
beach out of graham crackers and little umbrellas.
Seems to be a canon event.
Yeah, that was really a good year for
It was a
my
great
birthday
cake.
cake baking, you know,
Yeah, that was
if
the
we're
last
keeping
time
track.
before, and then you submitted yourself to Nailed It, so it went
Yeah,
downhill
I did,
quickly.
and then COVID hit, and I've never really found out if just Nicole Byer wants nothing to do with me or if, it was just delayed because of COVID, so.
You can't always say, weren't we like up against her in the Webbies? Like maybe that's why. Maybe you just
Oh, I've got a mark. Yeah, I've got a mark. That's dangerous.
I'm just saying you're on a hit list somewhere, I
Every
guess.
trophy we get just adds us to somebody. We're public enemy number one.
She's just, you could go on Nailed It, and then if you suck there, you can go, you know what, Nicole Byer, I beat you at the Webbies. Whoops. So
What if I
now
just
we're even.
what if I just bring the Webby to the baking competition and
What if you made your cake look like a Webby in the
I
spring?
just like
It just fell.
I'd be like, this is
This is the Webby I beat you at,
this is
actually.
me rubbing it in your face.
That's so mean.
I don't know why
Oh.
I'm not getting so defensive. Nicole Byer has no clue who I am.
She's lovely. Well, I've never met her,
And
but
I
she
adore
seems like
her. Yeah.
yeah.
So I'm gonna keep
Oh.
my mouth shut now. Maybe I'll sign you up for Wipeout, and then we can both watch each other fail on TV.
What's Wipeout? That sounds like something that happens just in my house all the time.
You've never seen Wipeout?
Mm-mm.
Dude, Google
What is it?
Wipeout TV show right now. You're about to be in for a treat.
Oh, I have always wanted to do this. That looks very fun.
Yeah,
That
but it
looks
doesn't when you watch it because people
They-
just, it looks painful.
for a while I watched American Ninja Warrior and
Yeah, I worked on that show. Usually you get to say that. Now I get to say that for once in my life.
how was it?
It was so effing hot. We had to sit downtown in LA, like 110-degree heat, and it took like 12 hours. And they just kept restarting. And there was like a live audience, and you weren't allowed to leave once you got there.
Forget it.
And
Like
so people
imagine
started fainting. So we had to go. I had to order water, but it was like pre DoorDash. So I was like trying
Oh,
to call places to
no.
like deliver bottles of water because nobody thought that the outside audience would need water, and people were fainting. Anyway, it was.
They never one thing that TV does not translate well for others is like what the temperature is when people are out there doing something.
That's
Like
on purpose, because people would
I
be
know,
like,
but
"Oh my god!"
it didn't even occur to me that on top of trying to be an
Yes.
athlete in general outdoors.
No, you're totally right.
Then it's 100 degrees.
I
Forget
forgot.
it. I'm not
I
going.
forgot about the people in it. I was just talking about the audience and me, and then I was like, "Wait a minute! There's people actually doing
Oh.
feats of physical strength."
Imagine even like trying to grab like metal bars and it's hot as shit outside.
Oh well,
Like
they
that.
got special like covers for the whole thing.
Oh,
Like
oh,
they
oh.
don't worry, they were climate controlled. This was television for. They were the stars of the show. They were they were the
I
artists.
see.
I was the mere anxious lady on the phone going, "Please, do you have water to bring me?"
Well, I feel like at some point we started with why do I drink, and I don't
I said,
really.
"Why do you
Did I
drink?" And then I
say?
immediately cut myself off and said, "We're wearing matching shirts." And then that's where we stopped. Sorry.
I drink because I feel like I say this like once every quarter, but I'm having to do my spring cleaning, which is never in spring. It's pretty much every other month I have to do some sort of spring cleaning on my closet because I just cannot stop myself from buying a million shirts and sweatshirts. So now that I'm back home, I feel like I have to weed through things again. So I just don't want to have to do the putting on, taking off thing with all my stuff. But you inspired me because you were the one who said recently that you like cleared all your shit out. And now I'm like, I should
I
do that.
cleared about
It sounds
5%, and it's bad here, folks.
really, I thought you sounded like you were like really like thrilled with how it
No,
turned
it
out.
was. We got rid of probably like 40 boxes of stuff, and I still
That's
have.
5%.
Yeah.
Oh, Christine.
Oh, I'm not kidding.
Can I help with the other 95? I would love to help.
No. If you show up and help,
Oh.
fine. But I'm on a very, very full speed ahead. I can't wait any longer for this because I'm like, I need to get shit out of here. I have stuff from when I was in 10th grade, and I drew it and I thought it was funny, and I took it to every house I've lived at. I don't know why. I just have like had
Oh,
these
that's not weird to me though. I mean,
attachments, but I have
no.
everything. Like I have like everything I've ever owned. Like I can't not.
Mm,
It's like I get attached to things, and then I'm like, well, what if I need it? And then I've really struggled with throwing with like recycling stuff versus throwing stuff out. And then I'm like, well, I don't
mhm.
want to put this in a landfill, and then it just is a land. And the biggest help that I heard from a YouTube video was it's already in a landfill. The landfill is just your house. Like putting it in a
Oh, that's
landfill
great.
and putting it in your house to collect dust,
That's
it's
really
not
helpful. Yeah.
helping anyone and it's hurting you. And I was like, "Whoa." So I've been working on it, but it's an uphill battle.
I uh I feel like kind of a piece of shit because I have 3 big I always call them Tupperwares, but I always get made fun of for that. I
Tote.
don't know. Yeah, sure. I also used to call them Conticos for a while because that was like one of the brands that we had.
I'm,
But
by the
yeah,
way,
like the
drinking this. It's a liquid death sparkling, so I'm gonna crack into it just before
Ready?
anyone is
Ooh, that
wondering.
sounded nice.
All right.
I'm so jealous of you. I wanted a liquid death today, and they sent me the sparkling ones, and I don't like sparkling water. They
Well,
like mix up the order.
my bad.
Um but no, I feel so bad because I also collect a lot of stuff, but I've been able to shove all of my like if there were a fire, what am I grabbing and running out with? I
Mhm.
have 3 of those that if I have time to grab all 3 of them, I have everything like of my childhood memories that if everything else burns to the ground, at least I've got those.
Nice.
And I felt so bad because during these fires and Allison was
Oh, I heard about it.
evacuating. Yeah, I was like, "Can you get my memory boxes?" And she just had to lug like with her like 3 big ass fucking
She
boxes.
goes, "Yeah, I had to evacuate, but I had to stop at the storage unit for all of M's childhood memories." And I was like, "That's hilarious."
It was also like she was such a homie because I did tell her I was like, "You don't have to if you don't f-
If
if
you
you are not
smell
in like
smoke.
imminent danger."
Yeah.
If you're like cuz she was evacuating in advance before
Yeah,
there
yeah,
was
yeah. It
ever
wasn't
even any
like a forced evacuation.
but I did feel bad cuz I was like, "Yeah, this doesn't feel like something that you can get out with urgently." But at the same time, like I have amassed quite a collection that has now turned into 3 big ass Conticos, and I
I
feel
can't
bad.
believe you fit it on those though. Like, I mean, I have a house of it. Like just everywhere, every corner, it's like that. I mean, I don't know.
I have one
It's
that's all and that's why we drank.
mhm.
And a lot of it, by the way, is like merch because usually when we get new merch, I ask for 2 of them, one to wear and one to save because one day we won't have it anymore, and I'll want a new one.
Yeah.
So I have a whole thing just of and that's why I drink stuff. One whole thing of grandparents stuff I've inherited, and then one of all like childhood crap.
Damn.
So
What about
if
furniture and stuff or like paintings or like anything like do you have stuff that like that or not really?
furniture wise, well, we had I never had furniture until our last apartment.
Right.
So and then one of them, the main thing was like a couch
I
was the
guess I
couch that we
got
had, but it was
furniture when I bought a
broken.
house and I was close enough to my family's house that I could get stuff from their house if I needed. Like,
Um, I will say just as annoyingly as I was with Allison about the 3 totes that was like unnecessary. I have made my mother save our dining room table from childhood.
oh, yeah, me too.
And so that's in the basement at some point. Sorry, Allison, that's showing up at some point. I don't know where. Not in this house. It's like the size of our house. But but I
I
do
know.
have
I
that.
love
So
it because it has all the markings from like doing homework at
yeah.
the same spot.
And I'm so mad she recently got rid of all the furniture that we had in the basement growing up, and that was like where all of our sleepovers were, and like most of my memories were on that furniture. And then she just goodwilled it. She didn't even fucking do like it was like great furniture. I was like, what's wrong with you? Like I have so many memories on that couch. But then what would I do with it, you know? So
I don't know. I've heard stories of what happened in that basement.
A lot happened on those couches.
I don't know if you want. I don't know if Allison wants that.
I'm not saying I was the culprit. I'm saying
I
the
know you
couch had
weren't
a
the culprit. I know
the
you weren't
couch
the
had a
culprit.
track record with a lot of
That's
people.
what I'm saying. Yeah. Maybe give it to one of them. Maybe they'll pick it up at Goodwill. Maybe they'll be like, I smell some pheromones on this couch. For some reason, I'm feeling attracted to it. My high
Anyway,
school memories.
I think my mom knows that had she offered it to me, I would have said keep
Yeah.
it, and
Oh
then she would have been
God.
stuck with it.
And
So I think she
Allison would
just
have killed her. Yeah.
I think she just got rid of it and asked forgiveness instead of permission.
Yes.
So
Yes. I can understand that.
what's like a piece of furniture that like means a lot to you that you I mean, you're allowed to like let go of whatever you want, but some things you're also allowed to just really hold on to. Is there something that you're
Yeah.
definitely holding on to?
Yes, I have quite a lot actually. I'm trying to get rid of some furniture. I feel like when I moved in, I got which I feel like happens like overzealous. Like I wanted every room to have its like furniture and its setup, and
Which
now I'm
you decorated beautifully, by the way.
oh, that's very nice. Thank you. But I felt
not to make
so
it worse to get rid
I've
of
just felt
things.
so overwhelmed because it's like I just have stuff everywhere and everything doesn't have a place, and so it just kind of piles like my trash pile, and then I
Mhm.
get very just like mood swingy about the mess and it really takes over and then I dissociate. So I've just been like really trying to be very kind to myself and like, oh, if you want it, fine. If you don't want it, like just remove the value judgment. Like don't harp on it or feel guilty, all that. And I've watched a lot of videos and read some books that really helped, including if anyone is looking for help in this area, How to Keep House While Drowning is awesome for neurodivergent folks who struggle with like cleaning and keeping things in order and even basic stuff like you and I've talked about like executive function stuff, toothbrushing, etc., hygiene
Mhm.
and laundry is a big one she talks about. Anyway, so
Yeah.
but the things that I have, my dad bought this when he moved to the US. He bought this like old wooden what do you call it? It's sort of like a china cabinet, like a hutch, like a big wooden hutch.
Mm.
That's really cool. And then I have several pieces that I bought from estate sales that are like Victorian furniture and dressers
It's
and
badass.
things to match and I just bought a big apothecary, a Victorian apothecary. I know I'm like, I bought all this
Nice.
shit. Like, yeah, my house is a fucking disaster, but I keep on it. But I bought all that stuff and then I was like, you know what, Christine, 2025, stop buying stuff, clear the house out, figure out what you like and don't like, make it livable rather than just like, oh, I like that, I'll put it here, just I just need to take a breath. So simplify is my word of the year.
That's nice. I feel like mine's like complicate.
Oh
Make
gosh,
things worse.
maybe we should have referenced with each other before we chose our resolutions and went in opposite directions.
Well, because
Um,
I think I get so in my head about furniture. Maybe it's because like our place is not that big. So when I think about furniture, it's like we really have to measure every single thing and
that's
then
hard.
we can really only have one of everything. So it's like, okay, well, what's the one thing we're going to get? And then I have like task paralysis or choice paralysis where I'm like, well, what if something cooler comes
It's
along
not
right after we
perfect.
hit purchase,
Literally can't, and that's why my house has like 4 of things because I'm like,
Yeah.
well, I have room for it in a different room, and it's like I shouldn't have to just like buy it because you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
I want to be more intentional about that kind of thing, and I've felt so much guilt about accumulating so much stuff, and now I'm kind of like, you know what? I've been using like you and Eva taught me about buy nothing on Facebook, and I'm
Hmm.
just trying to like find homes for things that I maybe bought like sporadically. I'm also like I told Em the other day, untangling a lot of like oh god, shadow work stuff. I know I'm not going to harp on it, but basically I've been trying to detach from a lot of my like compulsive buying and online shopping, and I think a lot of us, maybe some of us, I do that as like a way to distract from the world, and so I'm trying to just untangle some of that stuff. And with that comes emptying out a lot of my house. And some of the stuff, I mean, I'm not kidding. I moved to LA and back with, and I'm now looking at with this feeling of, also the sunk cost fallacy of like, well, I've moved
Hmm.
with it everywhere. Why would I get rid of it now? And it's like,
Yeah.
well, because you've decided you don't need it after all, and it's
Yeah.
just a lot of
Well,
emotion goes into it, a lot of like exhausting types of emotion.
yeah, no, I totally at some point I wonder if I'm only attached to the attachment,
That's
of
what it
like
is. Yeah. Yeah. That's a good
uh,
point.
um because sometimes I like right, I know eventually we're going to get a new couch. We are currently using the couch that was in the troll hole, which never got any play by the way at my apartment. Like
Yeah.
we
Good
never sat on
point.
that thing and now we're using it all the time. But it's our temporary couch until the studio gets built, and then it's going to go there and it'll be in the neutral hole. So then eventually we'll have another blank canvas in the room. So I constantly am dealing with
Oh yeah, you got that
um
layered
yeah, I'm
situation.
like, where do I even start
And you
knowing
have
that
like a
eventually it's going to
time where you're
change?
like, oh, how long is it even going to be in here? Do I
Yeah.
want it for like years worth? Do I want it for like 6 months? Oh my Lord. Yeah.
hmm Um, what was I gonna say? Speaking of spending more money recently, I think I pulled a Christine, and I got a little too impulsive recently with Pokemon
Yes.
cards.
See, but now I need someone to live vicariously through. So maybe it's perfect
Well,
that we
good.
flip flopped and now I can just ride the waves
Well,
and watch you do it.
I was being really good. I was like, I'm not gonna do any frivolous spending, blah blah blah. And I was happy with the Pokemon cards I had. I hadn't really touched my collection in several months,
Yeah. Yeah. You
actually.
had actually said that to me about you were very content with your collection.
Yeah. But then RJ, I don't know why now. It could have been useful later or earlier, but RJ decided he also wants to get into Pokemon collecting now. So then he's very sweet. I really appreciate how often he tries to keep in touch with me now that we don't live together. And he asked me if I wanted to collect a deck with him. So now we're collecting a deck together, which
Oh,
is very
that's
precious.
fun.
And so it gave
Oh,
me
that's
permission to start spending a
not
bunch of money.
I know, but at least it's like not something that'll just be thrown into the black hole void of,
hmm
of just trying of fulfillment. Sorry, I've gotten really dramatic lately in my head. But
It's
at
fine.
least it's like a fulfilling thing with a friend, right? Like at least that's
Yeah.
why I think when we go places and go shopping and stuff, like on tour or like gift shops, it's just there's something very joyful about like buying a sticker here because like we were there
Yeah.
together and it was
Oh,
like a memory.
I was just looking at stuff that I collected over the tour, and every so often I'd be like, "Oh, I got this one with Christine. Oh, I got this one with
It's
Eva.
another
Oh, I
troll. It's another troll themed. Most of mine were from that troll place in where was that?
oh, I know where that was because I literally just looked it up. It was in Wisconsin.
Wisconsin. Yes.
But we stumbled upon the troll capital of the world. How do you just
I mean,
stumble
we
upon that?
literally like out of a fairy tale stumbled upon the troll. Like we've entered a fairy
It was called the
ring by
Grumpy Troll,
mistake. Yeah,
the
well, that was a
pub.
bar. Yeah, and then we got all our grumpy troll. Man, that was cool. And then I texted Eve, my sister in law, and her partner Philip is from Wisconsin. I was like, oh my god, I just went to the troll, and they were like, what are you talking about? And I was like, did we find like
Hidden gem.
was it no, was it like a literal fairy ring and we like went to a dimension and now we're just changelings and we're no wonder we're so fucked up.
Well, I
Uh,
will. I will say, 'cause I was thinking for a second, like maybe I shouldn't say something and give it to you as a gift, but I think you would enjoy the purchasing of it yourself. Is that one of the reasons I started collecting Pokemon cards was because I love tchotchkes and collecting things and buying things, but we lived in an apartment together and
hmm.
we only had so much room for all this stuff. So I was like, okay, well, how do I like get the joy of buying things while also like not taking up physical space
Like a
in our home?
compact. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I can buy as many cards as I want. They all go in the same binder. So like no more space gets
Right.
taken up. So I think you are doing that, getting that same fix with your little tin types and your pictures, your old
Oh my
pictures.
god, you're so
So
right. And you know what's so funny is I bought a bunch of like albums and like stuff to
I was
keep
gonna say
them.
you should get a really nice
Yeah.
album and feel good about like it because weirdly, okay, I don't have it with me. Fuck. But my Pokemon binders, I almost love them as much as my cards, and so it makes me like
Aw.
it becomes like this little sacred like
Yes, that's what I
thing.
want. And I think I overloaded myself with just like hobbies and stuff and like trinkets and junk and books and it just all started piling up and I didn't have a place for it and I miss having like an intentional hobby and an intentional collection and I think like
Mhm.
right now the photos are just like in different boxes all through the house and I'm like I want to
Well,
clear out my house so I can have a space to just do my pictures.
might I suggest, because I literally just bought this. Because I started when I would go to all these tchotchke shops full of stickers and stuff. They also had a bunch of like greeting cards that I would like think were so
Ugh,
funny that I
I
for a while I was
love
like,
that.
oh well, frame them or something. But then I ended up getting so many fucking greeting cards. I was like, shit, I have to start sending cards to
I've
people.
started mailing them out. Yeah, I had to as
So
well.
I bought a collector, like
Oh,
a
I have one of those.
box.
That was one of my last 2024 purchases because I was like, I know if I start 2025 and I buy something like that, I'm gonna start being like, well, now I want color coded everything. So I was like, no, just that for the greeting cards. Isn't that thing is gonna be a game changer for you? It has
Oh,
helped me so much.
Well, I was gonna say you should have one of these just for your old time pictures,
Oh,
and
I
that
do.
way.
I have an accessory and
Okay,
a sorting container for everything. It's just there's so
you
much
need a container for your
but
containers.
that's I do. I have them. I have containers for my containers for my containers. It's like bad. And so I watch all these shows about like, oh, how to organize, and then I buy all the organizing supplies and then they stack up and it's like, wait a minute. I had this realization which I realize is very obvious to most people, but I was like, my house just has no order in it. I need it to be ordered first and feel like safe and comfortable before I start moving and organize. Like I want stuff out that I don't need anymore before I like focus on that. So I had to take a step back from the organizing.
If you I know I keep, like, offering it at to no avail, but if for some reason you want even just, like, brunt labor help, or if you don't wanna think,
You can literally come anytime. It's an open invite. My sister came over the other day and just said
there's nothing I love
yes or
more.
no. And I was like, I don't want to do this. And then she came over and I did it. And I was like, oh, that was really helpful. Um, so anytime, listen, I'm just gonna be doing it. So if you want to pop on over, I'll be here. Um, it's
it's my
embarrassing.
f
I
no, it's my
carry
favorite.
I carry quite a bit of shame about some of the stuff, but
There's
that's
no
part of
reason.
there's reason.
That's
But it's all part of the territory.
well, there's no reason to feel shame about it. I think that's stupid. I think
Yeah,
you're
shame is
fucking stupid
a
to feel
killer.
shame.
Thank
There
you.
no, I mean, like, what's there to be ashamed about that you love everything in there? Oh, no,
No, it's
you
not
know?
that. I mean, I don't love everything. That's part of the problem. It's just like I hold on to stuff. It's like a hoarding. I'm not a hoarder, but I have family who does have hoarding tendencies, and it's like this like psychological thing where you're like, I can't let go of something even though I don't like it or want it, and it makes me unhappy or it's gross or I don't know. There's just some things that are hard for me to like part with. It's
Well,
like not normal thinking, but anyway, yes, there. I always welcome the help now that I've learned
yeah, no
how
judgment
useful
for
it
me.
is.
I like, truly, there's nothing I love more than cleaning, and not like cleaning other people's stuff, like, and, like, organizing
No,
other
I
people's
totally
stuff.
get
It's
that. My
my
sister was
fucking
like in her
favorite.
element, and then I went downstairs and she had like done all the Christmas stuff, and I was like, oh my god, you just saved my life. I would not
Yeah,
have done that
it's
for
a
another
dream.
2 months. Yeah. So if you want to come over, obviously there's nothing I can do at your house. I can dust your Pokemon cards, but other than that,
You can
you run a tight ship over there. I know that about you and Allison. You have like a very minimalist, intentionally and because of your space. But
yeah, I think it would certainly not be so minimal if we had
this is
room for
why I bought a
growth.
big house because I'm sick in the head and I know I'll fill it. You know what I mean? I mean,
I
I
think this
moved somewhere
actually
with cheaper real estate so I could buy a bigger house so I could fill it with more
yeah.
junk.
No, I think this ended up as much as I, take issue with the size of our house, it really, I think, saves me in the end because I
Yeah, yeah.
know I would be filling
Well,
it
yeah,
with
you're putting
stuff.
a boundary on yourself, which sometimes
Yeah,
sucks, but it's like, oh, I'm like setting a parameter for myself.
yeah. And there are times where I do appreciate the size of it because remember for a long time I wanted to like move into a tiny house and this is the best of both worlds. This is a tiny
Yeah. I think
real
you've always
house.
been like good at maintaining that once you set that rule for yourself. Like you're very good at
Yeah.
like, okay, that goes, that gets donated, that's out.
Well, because we just bought a temporary coffee table because again we don't know if we'll keep it when we move the
Temporary.
couch. It's all these stupid dominoes.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but then immediately Allison was like, "Oh, I can put all my stuff on the table," and I was like, "No, you cannot." I was like, "What do you mean? Like now that's gonna look all cluttered and like." I have a really tough issue when it comes to like dusting and sweeping. If there's like obstacles for me to dust and sweep around, there's so less likely of a chance that I'm gonna do it.
Oh, well, that makes a lot of sense because I always watch those commercials and go, I should Swiffer. And then I look at my floor and I'm like, oh, every inch is covered with something. I can't
Yeah,
Swiffer.
exactly. So like when we were picking out furniture, I was trying to in advance think of stuff. Like
Ugh, that's so
I got like
smart.
I did floating nightstands next to our bed so that way there wouldn't be legs to have to sweep around and stuff. So it's just like built into the wall
Oh
and
my God.
so little things like that.
You would
But
hate my house.
as soon as she was like, "Oh, I'm gonna put everything on the floor on in this table," I was like, "Wait a minute, hang on,
Yeah,
don't do that."
yeah, yeah. I do get that way. If I have a plan for something and then like I walk in and somebody put their stuff on it, I'm like, what the hell? Like,
Yeah, I'm like,
get
"Do
that
you
off.
fucking
Do
mind?"
you
No.
mind?
Anyway, no, I think the only reason I'm a little strict about that stuff is because I know the second that there is a way to talk myself out of keeping it clean, then I just won't keep it clean. So
Oh,
anyway,
well,
that was
and I don't recommend it because it's really bad for my mental health. So, by the
I have
way,
other severe other mental health
oh,
problems.
trust
Don't worry.
me, don't worry. It's unfortunately not a competition. We're both very sick in the head. I'm sure all of our listeners are in their own special ways. But
Well,
yeah.
I feel like we definitely went on a tirade here, and it kind of morphed into something. But I never asked you why you drink, or is this why you drink?
Well, now, yeah, now it's probably all of this. I'm really scared of some of the built-in shelves behind my TV. There's some
Like
because
they're
we
gonna fall?
moved in and put stuff in there and I haven't touched it since May of 2020. So that's probably
Oh, it's like a
5
treasure
years.
trove. It's a time
Yeah.
capsule.
Ooh, yeah, but mostly just like random junk that
I guess I have a question for you
yeah.
because my mom, and I think a lot of us grew up having like built-ins in living rooms. That was like part of the like, some of the fancy look to it, I guess.
Mm.
Um, and I think all of the books that were on, I honestly don't think my mom ever read or touched one of those books. They were purely decorative. How do you fill out a built-in like that? Are they
So
books that
mine
you've read?
is filled with a bunch of piles of cords that don't work anymore. I'm not making that up. And also random board games that are missing pieces, puzzles that were too big for Leona or I didn't know what to do with.
So it's your
Um
doom box.
it's my doom wall and it's very large. It's about 12 feet tall. And it's okay, so no, but in all seriousness, so I didn't grow up with built-ins. Because my house was from 1860 and I lived in a graveyard, as you recall. So my house was not trendy or anything. So we didn't have built-ins. So I don't know what a normal person puts in built-ins. I
Okay.
bought a big stick and I've never, my stepfather still talks about it. And sometimes he'll bring a stick to my house and be like, here, I bought this for you. And it's like the meanest joke, but it's like, because it's so true. Because I literally ordered a decorative stick on the internet one time. Like I feel like this is full circle of what the fuck is happening here is like I bought this beautiful stick because I thought, oh, that'll like make my house look nice. So then I put it in front of all the piles
You
of
a
like
Labrador
cables.
retriever.
I mean, literally, I'm like a fucking crow. I don't know, man. I'm sick. And so then I like created this disaster. And now there's all these random books that no, I don't read, but I did color code one day when I was feeling really detached from reality. And so I only got through red and orange, and then the rest is just a mix of browns. So it's not even rainbow. And then there's a big stick that just has so many spider webs on it.
That's a great story though.
So anyway, it's not a story, it's my life. No, I'm kidding. It is.
Well, I will say, like, so one of the bookstores near us, they literally have a whole wall that are full of books that I guess they know no one will ever fucking read, and they just
Oh.
color coordinated them, and it just says like decorative books, so they know
Oh yeah. Oh, so you
it's
can
to
buy
just put them on.
well, so when I bought that decorative stick, I almost bought decorative books and Blaze was like, "You need to really like." Well, actually he didn't say this. I said it to myself. I was like, "You need to
Okay.
reach really deep into yourself and ask yourself if you need to buy decorative colored books." And it's not
I like
like
you're like, no, but the stick has to come
but the
home.
stick has to come home. There's no choice. It was beautiful. And it is, and it remains beautiful. And I keep it in there. And I keep it in there I keep it in there because I need a ladder to get it down. And I don't have one on hand because it's in the garage behind a lot of other stuff.
This is why you have a 3-year-old. You put her on your shoulders. You have her, and then you both are involved in the stick cahoots.
And then a
you know?
sharp stick comes raining down on top of us with a
Full
bunch
of
of
spider
mystery
webs.
items and spider webs. Yeah. No, I actually, you know what? I'm going to take a photo of that because I feel like I've cleared so much of my house out that even the messy rooms look so much less bad than they did before. So I'm going to take a picture of that before I even touch it. And we'll have Megan post it and you all can either roast me or relate or just say, oh dear, I thought I could relate until I saw a picture and now it's so much worse than I expected.
You know what? I looked up decorative sticks and I see a few that I understand are worth buying.
Well, thank
So,
you. I think it was for a terrarium, and I just bought it for my wall, from my built-in
mm,
shelves. This was back in Los Angeles. Oh, and then here's another idea. Here's the other fucked up fuckery I did is that I
hmm
then paid a mover to bring my decorative stick from Los Angeles to Kentucky, and it's still in my house.
Did he pull it out and go, where should I put this? In the yard?
He probably just threw it away, and I was like, no, let me get that back. I mean,
you just handed it to Gio, and it's like, obviously this was his.
This is obviously not a dog toy. It's obviously a decorative piece that goes in the built-in shelves. Hello. Anyway, so sorry. All that to say, who knows how much I spent on a box because it's a big fucking stick. But it's fine. It's fine. We're getting through it together, everybody. We're holding hands across the world.
Yes, well, one stick at a time. We're just all
pass the decorative baton. Pass the decorative stick.
Well, with that, I have a story for you.
Thank you for letting me vent that out. That was really cathartic for me.
I loved it. And now I know if I ever come and clean your house to not touch the stick.
Thank you. And you know what?
Look
you
what
can, because I think maybe it was just meant to be told, the story, and maybe now I can let it go. You know what I mean? Maybe I needed to get the story out there.
You know how they have like symbolic burnings? Like maybe it would be ironic that you could burn a stick. It's
why
a really
don't I
good
just
thing
give
to burn.
when Allison's on the way to the storage unit, I'll just have her bring a bunch of my stuff, and when she sees the smoke, she can just toss it into the wildfire, and it'll be
she can contribute to the
birds,
mass tragedies.
Yeah, exactly. I will be doing it. She'll just be the middleman, middle person.
Yeah, no. Hey, if you need. Actually, I guess I need a place to store some of my memories. Maybe I just give you more shit and just give you my memories too.
I mean, it's really a safe place. It's a safe. That's why my mom's house has become the way it is, and she's finally like getting through it all because she's like, this is just when people. I mean, I'm sure a lot of parents can relate. But like when the kids come home from college and they leave like huge boxes of stuff, then they come home from grad school, and then they come home from like a job or a breakup or whatever, and it's like you just end up with all this shit that like nobody wants. And so
I have. In my bedroom at my mom's house, the closet, my clothes closet, that is the only place in the house where I Mom, if you're listening, I'm still mad at you.
Because I remember this. I know what's going to happen.
Well, I have a closet that it's a small closet. It's not like I'm taking up a lot of space. It's like a random, like, open the doors and there's a closet. And I have things in there that I don't want thrown away yet, but it would be like too expensive to ship it here. And no one's using that room, so it's not like it's like in anyone's way. But all I want is for her to not touch the closet in my room. She can touch whatever she wants in my room. She can put a Peloton in there, which she already has. She can put a massage table in there, which she already has. She can do whatever she wants in the actual room. I don't give a shit. Just let me have that one closet to keep some of my stuff in. Every time I come home, it has been absolutely riddled with, and it's like, what are you doing in there? Like, what you have your own closet. One time she that's where she keeps all of her other clothes because they don't fit in her like 10-foot walk-in closet.
I'm sure she has some built-ins. Tell her they're full of room. I haven't looked at mine in years.
She has a massive like a Kris Jenner closet.
Oh my god.
And her clothes still don't fit in there, so she has to use my room and my stepbrother's room. My step-siblings' room.
I'm afraid to ask. Where does Tom keep his clothes?
In a lunchbox somewhere. I don't know. Like just
at his job, at work, in the car.
He just wears them. He just wears his one shirt.
He wears his outfit. Yeah.
No, he has like a spot in the closet, but she has enough room, but then she like
we can all picture this situation.
By the way, full circle of this conversation because I started with I have too many fucking clothes, but
interesting.
I wonder where I get it from. But she like has to always.
I don't know. It sounds like Tom has a problem with overspending on his clothes. So
it sure does. Yeah. No, he literally everything he owns is inherited or a hand me down from his childhood.
Yeah. They like to just make it even more obvious how much money we're spending.
Well,
the sensible ones.
This.
I mean.
My mom puts her clothes in my closet, and to a point where the bar in the closet broke. Like she had that many clothes, and then it toppled on all of my shit, and all of my shit in there.
Now it smells like your mom.
It smells like mom. Anyway, we've been talking for 40 minutes. Should we tell a story?
I guess. Tell me a tale. We've spin me a web. Tell me a tale.
Well, I could borrow a web from your decorative stick.
They're all being used right now for something important. So the biggest problem that I had with grocery shopping was that I had 3 people in my house, and it was always a chore to figure out like who needs what. And Blaze and I would go separately and forget certain things for Leona. But now that Hungry Root is involved, they know I have a 3-year-old, and they know what 3-year-old food is and appetites are. So they send stuff for Leona, and then stuff for me and Blaze.
Hungry Root is like having your own personal shopper. They take care of the weekly grocery shopping, recommending healthy groceries tailored to your taste, nutrition, preferences, and health goals. And they make it easy to get high quality, nutritious foods and achieve any diet or health goals, from anti-inflammatory to gut-friendly, gluten-free, dairy-free.
You tell them your goals, your preferences. They fill a personalized cart for you. And you can change things around, but usually I look at the cart and go, yep, looks good. Ready to eat meals. They have salad kits. They have supplements, smoothies, kids snacks, desserts, recipes that you can cook yourself. They just have so much good stuff, but what they don't have is high fructose corn syrup, no artificial sweeteners, which I am allergic to, no preservatives in any of their food. It's just top quality meat and seafood, free of hormones and antibiotics. We love it.
For a limited time, get 40% off your first box, plus get a free item in every box for life. Go to hungryroot.com/drink and use code DRINK. That's hungryroot.com/drink, code DRINK, to get 40% off your first box and a free item of your choice for life. hungryroot.com/drink, code DRINK.
The other day I was at Costco and I saw Orgain on the shelf and I went, oh my God.
I've recently told RJ that I was going to be giving him some of my Orgain. He's very excited, just like how we're switching out Pokemon cards with each other. Now we're also trading protein powders. It's
oh, you're so evolved.
Well, this podcast is sponsored by Orgain, and Orgain believes real nutrition has the power to make a real difference in people's lives.
That's what I told everyone at Costco, and they were like, please leave. You're blocking the path. So Orgain is famous for their organic plant protein powder. It packs 21 grams of complete protein with all 9 essential amino acids. All Orgain products are made with USDA certified organic ingredients, so we know we're getting the nutrition we need without the things we try to avoid.
Remember, there are no quick fixes when it comes to your health. If you want more protein, give Orgain organic plant protein powder a try and head to Orgain.com/drink and use code DRINK for 30% off your order. That's the best offer you'll find, but you have to use our code DRINK for 30% off.
One last time, for 30% off, head to Orgain.com/drink and use our code DRINK.
Okay, so this is an international ghost story for you.
Ooh.
This is the Guyra Ghost.
Gyra?
And Gyra is a town in Australia.
Oh, okay.
So Gyra is a town in Australia in New South Wales, and we have not covered a lot of Australia cases, but this is a good one to start on because apparently the town of Gyra is best known for its annual Lamb and Potato Festival, which
I gotta believe every town in Australia has some form of festival. Just feels right.
I love a fest. You know what? I have decided in this exact moment that my New Year's resolution at the end of January is that I'm going to go to more festivals and conventions this year.
To buy more tchotchkes and more stuff.
To buy more tchotchkes.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to the potato festival, I'm probably only going to buy one tchotchke and I'm going to eat a lot of tchotchkes.
Oh man, where's the potato festival? I thought you meant you were actively already planning to go to and I was like, how the fuck have you just not mentioned this and then say it so casually? Okay. So if we were hypothetically to go to a potato fest, yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, I would buy one of everything: t-shirt, bedding.
I know. Well, for example, every July out here is the Watermelon Festival.
Where is that?
It's in the valley.
I've never been to that.
But here's the thing. It's always so hot and the fairgrounds are always so dusty. Like, do you really want to eat slices of watermelon in a big dusty field? Not really.
I mean, it really does speak to like very Americana roots, you know?
Yeah,
just eat a dusty watermelon.
Yeah, well, I keep waiting to find a shirt from there that I like, but
isn't it too bad when places don't have a good design and you're like, man, I would spend
disgusting.
$good on that.
It's
actually
one job. Yeah. It's actually honestly rancid. It's rancid business marketing.
Shit. You tell him.
And I've always said that. So
you
Potato Festival, are you listening?
Be careful.
Be careful. Okay, here we are. All events that I am about to tell you take place in 1921.
Ooh.
Starting in April, we don't know when because every single source had a different fucking day that it started on. So
okay.
We're just going to say April. One source said April Fool's Day, which is like a fun added poke to this, I guess, but I don't know if that's true.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the Bowen family, and the husband is William. The mom is Catherine. Husband, and why did I say mom? Yuck. The husband is William, the wife is Catherine, and they have 3 kids. And the family experienced, allegedly, a poltergeist. So right before this poltergeist activity came about. The town was already on edge. We were all a little freaked out about things because they had recently endured some darkness in the town. First off, there was an older woman in town. Her name was Mrs. Doran, and homegirl just goes missing out of nowhere.
What?
The last person who saw her was a farmer, and he literally is quoted in multiple papers saying that he saw her holding 2 potatoes and just walked off into the distance.
To the
Maybe
potato
she was on her
fest.
way to the potato
I
festival.
mean, she had her wares. She was ready for the show. She was just a little early.
She said, "I'm double fisting it at the festival, and I'm bringing these from home so I don't have to get overcharged."
Oh, yeah, you just gotta hide them in the bra. No one will know. You're
It's
bringing
like
your own potatoes.
bringing your candy to the movie theater. It's like,
Same
if I bring my own
difference.
potatoes, then I'm having just as much fun as everyone else.
I tell someone to fry it up for me. Perfect.
Easy.
Bada
It's
bing,
like,
bada
you already
boom.
got it frying over there. Just dip these in oil.
Just
See
dip
what
these
happens.
in. It's no big deal. So that shows she just vanishes
She just
with 2
vanishes. They saw
potatoes in
her
hand.
over the sunrise holding their 2
Oh my
potatoes,
god.
which is exactly how I see myself going also,
That
by the
is
way.
how I see you crossing the rainbow bridge. 2 potatoes in hand.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, she just goes missing, and people are freaked out because they're like, "Why the like what happened to her? Did she
I'm
get
freaked out.
abducted?"
Yeah.
And so the town assumed, they're like, she must have been kidnapped or something bad must have happened to her for her to not come home. So the rumor spread that now there was someone out there maybe abducting
Ah.
women. So then that put people on edge, so much on edge that a bunch of women in town started sleeping with loaded guns
Oh
just in
boy.
case someone tried to get them in the middle of the night. So town's freaking out. But now all the women are sleeping with guns under their pillows.
Oh boy.
And this led to one woman who had a gun either under her pillow or on a nightstand. I saw different things say different things. Her 5-year-old son found the gun though
No.
and thought it was a toy and shot his 6-year-old sister in the head.
Jesus Christ. Oh my god.
The oh god, bad time to thumbs up, Apple.
Oh my god. Apple needs to turn that shit off.
I know. She did survive, but the bullet was like forever lodged. Like they couldn't get it out.
She survived. Oh,
Yeah.
thank God.
So anyway, there's just like the town is just very
Things are
in a state.
wild. Yeah.
And on top of all that, now comes April, maybe April Fool's Day, I'm not sure. And the Bowen family starts experiencing odd noises on the property. They hear strange knockings on the outside of their house, like someone's just knocking on the walls out there. And they start noticing that they're hearing sounds of rocks hitting their house. And when they
Oh.
kind of waited around, they realized that the sounds were getting louder and louder. And eventually these rocks that were getting thrown at their house were now pelting the house, including the windows, which are now shattering.
Oh, and that has happened in these stories, right? Where things hit the roof and stuff.
Yeah.
Like
It's
poltergeist stories.
Yeah, and which is interesting to me because I always think of poltergeist as like a thing that's in the house and stuck in the house, but it seems to be targeting the house and it's stuck to the property or something
Yeah.
like that.
Well, I wonder, you know how they say poltergeist activity is like influenced by teenage hormones and all that? Or fear and anxiety?
Keep that in mind.
Okay. I
Yes.
wonder if that's why, like, when rocks start hitting it, it's almost like it's magnetizing stuff. I don't know. A
Mm.
vortex, if you will.
I know I'm covering a poltergeist case right now, but what you said was very woo-woo.
Oh, thank you so much. An energy
it
vortex.
was
No big deal.
it's deep in a way I wasn't expecting.
I've just really lately gone off the deep end in case anyone can't tell.
I love it. So they started noticing, these small stones were getting pelted at their house, seemingly by nothing. They would look out the window without glass on it now, I guess, and they'd go, "Where the fuck what's going on?"
Ow!
Which, by the way,
A rock
yeah,
is
I was gonna say, I was like, I would not be looking too far out that window.
What are you sticking your head out there for?
I'd be like hiding behind the window with like a mirror, and I go, I don't know.
Yeah, right? Like a little periscope.
Yeah. By the way, bring back periscopes.
God,
2025.
No, they
I loved
exist.
a
Oh, no,
periscope.
they exist.
Oh.
Don't worry. You just need to have a kid. It's so fun. Today, Leona and I built the most incredible fort, and I was like, oh man, I can't wait for her to have a periscope. We got to go build one.
Man.
Oh, it's the fun times, man.
That's a good one.
Teach her to spy.
God,
All my
those
favorite
like
activities.
those spy toys, I still think about them during
God,
the clear craze.
Oh, I was gonna say, well, she definitely has the invisible ink already, so she's
Ugh.
that. But
Does she have the
man,
glasses with the mirrors? Those are my fucking
now
favorite.
those are gonna be a delight, but I think she might hurt herself, so we're gonna wait a couple months till she can maybe walk a little straighter. I don't know.
Fair enough.
We'll see.
I
We'll
remember
see.
they sold them at the Scholastic Book Fair when I was younger, and I was like,
Oh, those
if I
kits
buy
of
one
spy
goddamn thing,
stuff.
yeah,
Oh man, that was my jam.
wow.
I bought all the spy stuff off that Scholastic. They had like a journal that you had to like voice activate to open
Oh,
all that.
I
Oh
remember it. Oh,
God, it was magical.
and the hearing one with it was like it was just a speaker or something. But I really thought, oh, I could hear voices amplified through the walls. But it was like it looked like a
I'm
little sonar.
still convinced it worked.
Me too. I feel like it enhanced it
And
by like
now you
1%.
put your thumbs up and then a little graphic of a thumb comes up and we get mad. We're like, stop it, technology. Back then, we embraced it. Now we're like,
That's a
stop
great point.
telling me how I feel, technology.
Well, I don't. Oh, how did we get here? Periscopes. Oh,
How the fuck
windows.
do I know? Oh, right.
So the next day, the stones are still being thrown at the house, but now even harder. The windows are being fully smashed in.
Mm,
The family is also experiencing, remember I said knockings, but the
yeah.
knockings have now become what they're calling thunderous thumpings.
Ugh.
And they are so intense that the whole house is shaking.
Oh, God.
Within 3 days, the sounds of these thunderous thumpings and the stone pelting are so wild that neighbors are hearing it from their house.
I have a probably stupid question. This is not the same family where the girl got shot, right?
No.
Okay.
That was
that's just an example of how things were like going haywire.
yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes.
I just want to make sure it wasn't the same family.
No. That was just one woman in amidst the fear of being abducted. She had a gun in her house. And so all the neighbors were just already
Just
kind of
as an example of how
rattled.
things were on edge. Okay.
So now all of a sudden this family's dealing with their windows just
Got
being
it.
smashed in by nothing.
Right.
Soon enough, because the neighbors were hearing these sounds. I mean, imagine across the street hearing something just like just windows smashing nonstop. And this is fresh after thinking that someone's abducting women and you're hearing windows getting smashed in all
Oh,
day.
good
So,
point.
like,
Glass shattering is not a sound that would be comforting in that
no, or even if it's a
context.
lot of knocking, maybe it's like the sound of someone like banging, like trying to get into your
Banging? Yeah,
house.
I don't like that.
But so neighbors were checking in on it. Eventually, just word spread, and now the whole town is involved. They bring the constable in, which I always forget about constables.
Not the constable.
Alert the constable! At haste, make haste.
A constable feels like they're never that fast though. Like it feels like they're in a
Yeah.
rush, but they're like kind of slow.
I feel like the constable thinks he has a lot to say.
Totally. And he's in a hurry, but you're like, but for what?
I feel like constables are those guys at the bar where they like are having their like first half deep idea and they're saying it out loud.
Wow,
And it's like,
that's so true.
yeah, I thought about that when I was 5.
It's
Thank
sort
you
of
so
like,
much.
thanks for your input. No
Yeah,
shit,
it's like,
Sherlock.
I'm so glad you think you're as deep as
You know what I
think
would
you
say?
are.
No cap constable.
All right.
Hold on, let me say a different one. That one didn't land. Hold on. I would say
Yeah, let's
no crap const. Yeah.
I would say get the fuck out of my face, constable.
I would say, why the fuck is there a constable at Skyline
I would say
Chili?
a cab constable.
All constables.
All constables are
Bananagrams.
bananagrams. I was like, what am I gonna say here? So anyway,
What we
the
said
constable-
all what do we say? All geese are silly. Somebody made
A-gas.
somebody made a little graphic of all geese are silly, and it's really good on
I
Instagram.
love that. And it's true.
It's true, and
always said
Em has always said that.
So the constable, he is called in to investigate. And of course, because he thinks he's bigger than his britches or whatever the phrase is, he walks right in, britches and all.
Oh no.
And the news got even bigger, and soon other people were hearing about this. So it wasn't just the constable now. It was the constable and the neighbors have brought themselves in as I guess like, you know, like you do like a citizen's arrest, whatever like a citizen's surveillance is.
Like neighborhood watch?
like they have decided that they are as important as the constable in this case.
I think they knew that all along. I think they always like subconsciously felt that way, but they just were like, finally, we can prove it.
I think the constable said one not deep thing too many, and they went, take a look at this
We're
guy.
actually
Let's take
so
over.
done. Yeah, we're done
They're
with
like,
you. You're just
don't worry,
you're-
constable. You
it's-
sit in the corner. We've
you
got
have your
this.
cool hat and your title, and you just leave us alone.
So the neighbors are like, this guy obviously needs some help. Or they were just like, honestly, maybe they were scared about what had been going on in the world. Or they were just fucking nosy. Because if I were a neighbor and I was given any
In
slight permission,
1921, you're not on like TikTok. There's nothing to do.
no, I would
Hoop
have
and
made this
stick?
my.
Are you kidding me?
I would have made this my sole personality.
You and I would have been, again, the people outside who were like so nosy and unashamed about it, you know?
Totally.
Like, just
And I'd have been like, you need all the help
inappropriate.
you can get.
Yeah, we're really good at helping.
Well, so the neighbors show up. They are like, constable, you are not enough to crack this case. We're on it. And I guess the news spread that the constable wasn't enough to crack the case because the story gets so big that the New South Wales state government gets involved and they send in a team of officers.
Of constables. Imagine they're just running amok.
What do you think that's called? A gaggle
everywhere.
of constables? Or
It's got to be a conspiracy of constables.
I like that one. Let's keep with that.
Okay.
So they send in a conspiracy of constables to be on watch around the clock at the Bowens house to figure out who is throwing these stones. And which, like, by the way, like, how
many constables does it take to figure out who's throwing a rock? Yeah, that was my question as well. I was hoping you'd tell me how many.
Not one.
30?
It also the neighborhood watch has grown to about 50 to 80 depending on the night.
This is
50
hilarious.
to 80 neighbors.
Yeah.
So you've got a
And you know,
What do
our
we call it?
listener, we were all there in past lives. All of us were there.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. We were probably the two idiot constables and they were like, we've got it.
We were there from day one.
So, okay. The neighbors get involved. The conspiracy of constables get involved. Eventually, it's like nearing 100 people a night, and everyone is doing 24/7 surveillance. Which, did the Bowens ask for this, by the way? Or did everyone just get so involved?
It feels like they have lost agency in this whole thing. Like, people have just taken over the narrative for them. Also, like, having all those people running around looking for who's throwing rocks, you just need one dumb teenager to start throwing rocks, you know? And then it's like, oh my God, where did it come from? Like, I mean, it's a shit show.
An excellent point. And to add to that point, another excellent point is like, with so many people there, like, how are they not getting hit in their fucking face with rocks?
Also,
There's 80 people.
They're in front of the target. Yeah, running around it. I mean, like moving targets. I don't know.
Like, if the house is being hit at random, or like if the target is windows, are they all actively avoiding windows, or are they just not getting hit? I don't.
Are they like
you would think there'd
hiding in
be-
the bushes?
You think there'd be a list of like injuries that came from this?
Yeah.
But anyway, all the neighbors are like, we're going to help the police. They are all participating in this around the clock, surrounding the property, surveilling the house, watching for activity. And the mystery becomes known as the Guyra Ghost. And papers start writing updates, being like, hey, other town, just so you know, we still haven't figured out who's throwing these fucking rocks.
The Neighborhood Watch is actively adding members. So if you're interested,
Come
we've
on
got
down.
about 300 more spots available.
And people, obviously, far and wide, are reading about this. That includes people in the paranormal world, so they wanted to help. The family is like now being advised to like conduct seances to try to like ask this thing to stop throwing rocks at
jeez.
them. Which, like, it was throwing rocks whether or not you're gonna ask. Like, you don't have to conduct a seance. You could have out loud
To
been
say,
like, I hate this.
Yeah, please
And
stop
it
throwing
knows.
rocks at me. Yeah, it feels like it.
They're doing seances. At this point, it was suspected that the activity was a ghost, but it could have also been their 12-year-old daughter, Minnie.
Minnie.
Minnie becomes the main character of our story.
Minnie, what are you up to?
They thought that if it was a spirit and it wasn't Minnie herself, they thought the spirit was connected to her because she seemed to get the worst of the stone throwing, where most of the stones were getting thrown near her bedroom window, at her bedroom window. When the window did eventually smash, the rocks were still getting thrown like at her bed through the window. Poor Minnie.
Poor thing.
But I will. Oh, and then of course, wherever she was is where the knocking was worse than the house.
Uh-huh.
the newspaper that by the way, the newspaper that I'm using most of my sources from is called the Sydney Morning Herald.
Oh
They
yeah.
fucking ate up this story.
Well, I still use them for a lot of my stories, so that's very funny.
So they really, I think they were like the lead journalists on the case because there was like at least 8 or 9 different articles of theirs I read about this. They were doing constant updates. And this is how they described Minnie. First of all, fuck you, Sydney Morning Herald, because they said, oh, Minnie was tall, thin, there's a quote, tall, thin, and dark with peculiar, dark, introspective eyes that never seem to miss any movement in a room. When she speaks
Yikes.
to you, she never smiles. She seems to look beyond or through you. She has a rather uncanny aptitude for anticipating questions almost before they are asked and answering them.
Yeah, because she's probably smarter than you.
And that's honestly one of the nicer descriptions that
Yikes.
they wrote
That's
because they straight up say like she's not clever, she's kind of an idiot, she's like backwards in school. That's what they called her.
Jesus.
They were not kind. So I'm reading like one of the nicer ones, but they straight up say like she is not that
Why
girl.
are they bullying this child?
She's
a
literally
child,
12.
right? She's 12? Jesus.
Yes. Which like imagine like you're already insecure as a 12-year-old. Imagine like the lead newspaper is saying that you fucking suck.
And all your friends are reading it. I mean, God.
And, like someone at school is like, you're not very clever, are you?
Oh, you're backwards
said so.
again. Yeah. Like they put her chair backwards. It sounds like I'm the bully. Put the chair backwards and be like, oh, it's your chair.
You do have
Sorry.
it in you for that to have come so
no,
quick.
I actually do. And it's because I think maybe because A, it happened to me, but also B, I for sure wasn't always the nicest kid.
Understood.
Just saying.
Yeah, a Minnie, I would have definitely been a mean kid, at least in my own home. I would have laughed about it.
I would have probably laughed about it with you.
Yeah, I would have been like, did you see what they said about Minnie?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Not as an adult, to be clear, but as a fellow child, I probably wouldn't have.
As a 12-year-old myself, who my frontal lobe is not developed, I would have been like, yikes, I'm glad I'm not Minnie. And as an adult, it'd be like, Minnie really powered through.
Yeah, get it, girl.
So, okay. So people think that she's the culprit, or at least the main target of the ghost. At the very least, no one thinks she's fucking smart or nice or pretty at this point. So,
So fucked up.
one guy comes on the scene in the paranormal world, because I told you people are getting involved there. His name is Ben Davies, and all they call him is a student of spiritualism. That doesn't like imply that he's like a priest or anything. It's just like, okay, me too. I fucking like
unemployed between jobs.
In 1921, I guess you could just have an interest and now you're the lead expert on it.
But I love that. You know what? In 2025, you can do that too. I've just decided.
Yeah. Okay.
What is the term?
A student of spiritualism.
I'm going to put that as my LinkedIn bio instead of podcaster because I'm like, no, I'd rather be a student of spiritualism. I get it, Ben. I get it.
Well, so he met with the family, went inside the house, he's talking to Minnie. He's heard that she's the culprit because how can you miss Minnie at this point with a roast like that every week in the paper?
Oof.
And he starts talking. He's like, well, what kind of ghost would even be here? Like, do you have any death in the family? He finds out that there was a literal death in the family months before.
Oh, no.
Their 4th child. Well, I don't know the age range, but she was old enough to have been married and had a kid. So she was but that could be like fucking
child?
13.
Oh, well, yeah, okay, fair. But so like an older child than Minnie.
An older
basically.
child.
Okay.
Named May.
Okay.
So there's Minnie and there's May. May is the one that's out with us.
Okay.
I saw different sources say how she died. It was kind of all over the place, so it doesn't really matter how she died. But they said, oh, your literal child who she just died. Okay, so that would make sense why there's a haunting all of a sudden. And it would make sense why it's most affecting the prepubescent or adolescent kid in the house.
The
because
sibling of that person too.
Yeah. And the person who's about to like go through a lot of changes, like you said earlier.
Yeah.
So Ben thought maybe May is trying to talk to the family and asks Minnie, hey, since you seem to be the most affected, can you try talking to May and see if anything knocks?
She said, I am talking to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so.
Try talking to May?
Well, as he's explaining, if you talk back to her, then maybe we'll hear more knocking. As he's saying that, they get 3 big knocks. And so he looks at Minnie and he's like, you're on, girl. Your turn. Like, time to do something. So Minnie closes her eyes, sticks her hands up in the air, and she says, Ave
I was half expecting Apple to do like a little shooting star. I don't know. I was like, what's gonna happen?
A little angel kisses me on the forehead.
Aww.
She sticks her hands up and she goes, May, is that you? And she starts crying as if she's hearing or witnessing something. And Ben goes, what's going on? Do you feel something around you? What's happening? And Minnie says, yes, May just spoke to me.
Okay.
And then she says, I can't tell you. The message is for Mother.
Ooh.
And then she runs over to her mom. And her mom is like, bitch, tell us what she said. What's going on?
Yeah.
Like,
spill it.
No time for secrets. What did she fucking say? So then May tells her mom, who is in the room with her and Ben, who also, guess who else is in the room? Apparently like 30 other fucking people. There's like
what, the night watch? The neighborhood watch?
The entire watch. Everyone came in to see if this guy was going to come up with something.
This
and now
is outrageous.
So in front of all these people, she gives this message that's meant for her mother. And she says, as if she's May, tell her I am in heaven and quite happy. Tell her it was her prayers which got me here. I will look after her for the rest of my life. Rest of your life? Girl, you're already gone. But okay. I think she meant your mom's life. Anyway.
Your mom's life.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I do know what
for
you
the
mean.
rest of my life.
Can you imagine you have one chance to speak from the afterlife and you like say something grammatically incorrect or you flip the words and you're like, wait, shit.
All of a sudden, the semantics are the only thing people care about.
Oh.
So basically she says this. Now, this is a good moment to reiterate that she's in a room full of people who are under pressure staring at her and she's 12. So maybe she felt pressure to say something and just kind of made it up. Maybe. But some think that this, it could have been Minnie just saying what she thought others wanted to hear. Others think that maybe she really did gain some clairvoyance or oral sound one.
Yeah, clairaudience.
Maybe she heard, maybe that she just gained that from being surrounded by these spirits. Either way, it didn't seem to be May at the end of this all because this ghost still kept pelting her family with rocks, you know? So it's like...
Right. So even if it
doesn't add
was
up.
the sister. Okay, I see. Yeah, and also... like I'm imagining as a child being put on the spot and then someone saying, now put your hands up and
in front
talk
of the
to
police.
in front of the constable. And then you say, now put your hands up and talk to your dead sister and see what she says. Like, oh my God. First of all, I would start crying. And then when everyone said, what did she say? What'd she say? What'd she say? What'd she say? Yeah, I would probably be like, she's in heaven.
I mean, even the early part where he says like, oh, try talking to May. It's like that already puts pressure on her that like if she doesn't do it, she's failing in some way.
Yeah.
So,
and it's like now you've put it in her head that she has to hear a message. And it's just, that's still a lot. I don't know. I feel like that's unfair that they put her on the spot like that.
And also knowing myself at 12 for the attention, I would have done it for sure.
Yeah. Or just like to appease everyone in the room because they clearly want you to say something.
Yeah. So anyway, that's something to consider. But if it is a ghost and it's saying, oh, I'm May, then explain why you're fucking scaring the entire town and hitting your family with rocks, you know?
Thanks for bringing me to heaven. They have a huge rock collection up here. I'm just going to keep throwing them at you, Mom. Thanks for praying for me. What? Like,
well, eventually, so it keeps happening after this. It's not like she talked to her and now like the stuff goes away. Like the activity goes away. It goes away for the rest of that night, but then the next night it comes back.
Okay.
Eventually, so many rocks are hitting the house that every single window is smashed. People are hearing the sounds from 100 yards away. And even creepier, a lot of people can't tell if the sounds are coming from inside or outside of the house.
Ew, we don't like that.
Eventually, it was seemingly coming from both. Like it started outside, then they started hearing sounds on the inside, and eventually they just couldn't decipher what was going on.
Oh my Lord.
Then their cottage is getting these knockings that are so loud that the foundation is shaking.
Right.
And people are even trying to shake the house themselves to see if it's just like a loose house or something.
Oh no. They're like kicking the baseboards like, seems pretty sturdy to me. Like, stop trying to knock my fucking house over.
Yeah, also, what if you were right and the house just falls now?
Yeah,
congratulations.
what the fuck are you gonna do now? Yeah.
Insurance would be wild. I pushed a house over. What?
Yeah. Yeah.
Also,
Push the
so
house over.
also I love the idea that one newspaper talked about how there was this guy who was like 200 pounds and he kept trying to throw himself into the walls of the house to try to knock it
Stop
over
it.
just to prove that it was shaky on its own. But the thing is, no matter how hard
He was
people
trying to
tried, they
break into Wallace.
very literally, very
Do you know
literally.
that I fell asleep doing that last night?
Did it work?
I think so, because I don't remember falling asleep.
There you
So,
go.
and you know what? I had insomnia. My insomnia kicked in yesterday. So I went to bed early, like for me, which was like 10:08, and I at like 12:30 a.m. still couldn't sleep, and I was like, "Oh my god, I have to break through Wallace or break
You just
break
gotta
in
give it a shot.
break into Wallace." And I don't remember anything else. So it must have fucking worked.
See, at the very least, it gets you sleepy.
Yeah, I didn't even think about it till just now, and then I was like, "Wait a minute, I tried that last night, and I pretty sure it worked."
I think that's why it felt like it was because when you asked me like,
I
oh, so
did.
are you going straight into actively dreaming? I was like, I don't know. I think I was just trying to fall asleep, and it eventually became
Yeah, you, like,
more.
became more lucid. That's so interesting. I mean, anyway, that helped me last night. Thank you.
Anyway, if anyone else has tried breaking into Wallace since our last episode, if you don't know what that means, write in if it's helpful because I'd like to know
I
if
would
I cracked the
love.
case.
And I'd also
So
love to know if any I mean, not to, discourage you and your creativity, but I'm curious if anyone else does something similar, like,
yeah.
if there are, like, other things, like, I don't know. But, okay, so we had talked about if it's breaking into Wallace or breaking through, and I said breaking through makes more sense, but then when I was doing it, I said breaking into Wallace, and that's what you said originally the first time? I don't
Mm.
know. So, anyway,
Yeah,
I take it back.
we could all universally come up with a phrase. I don't really know either. I just in my head I'm
I
just like,
think we
"Oh,
should just
Wallace,
when we say it, maybe we just see what, like, what
what feels
works.
right."
Yeah, what feels right.
Um
Anyway, sorry, that's what this guy's doing. He's breaking into Wallace.
literally breaking through the wall
Yeah.
but he's doing it to prove that the house is shaky, but it's not. So that's at least one piece of evidence to like we're trying with all of our might to knock this thing over. So
Yes.
where are these knocks coming from? Like, is this thing sitting on a tectonic plate and just
Right.
rocking around? So the town is still on 24-hour surveillance. They don't have any answers. The local sergeant, the constable, whatever, he was so like befuddled about everything, I guess is the
That
best
sounds
word.
right.
He was just like so strained that just like out of an SVU episode, like his superiors had to send him home. They were like, "Go home. You need a break."
I told you this guy was not cut out for the job.
He was really
I knew
stressing about
it.
it.
I knew
But
it.
and also, I don't know if it was like he couldn't figure it out on his normal 9 to 5 or like was this the guy who was doing overnights every single night and just
And
being
he
like
got
pelted with
too close
rocks?
to the case.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You're too close to this. You got to go home.
Or was it like he was trying to get the night guard or whatever they're called, the neighborhood watch under control and was like, these people are making me lose
Yeah.
sleep. Like, I can't handle this situation anymore. Like, maybe it
And
wasn't about the ghost at all. Maybe it was all about all these damn people.
and I also wonder like what the adrenaline does to your body if you're doing it for days on end, losing hours of sleep because you're around the clock and you're always constantly on like another level wondering if you're gonna get hit by a fucking rock.
But yeah,
So
yeah, you're on hyper vigilant mode.
yeah, so I think he just needed a break. So he's losing it. The neighbors are getting frustrated because they're not coming up with any answers.
No.
Mr. Bowen, he's also losing it, and every time he hears a knock, he's starting to run out with a shotgun and just shooting into the direction of the
Haven't we
sounds.
learned about this,
I
Mr.
know.
Bowen? Let's not.
And eventually it was getting even worse because one time they came home to find that their heavy shutters were no longer nailed into the house and were piled on the veranda, like stacked on top of each other.
Oh no, like Poltergeist style.
Yeah. At one point, a friend of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle,
I
who is
knew he'd show up.
a big paranormal guy, his friend Harry Moore came to investigate. This is not Harry Price.
Right.
Because
Okay. Okay. I
Harry
was like, there
Price
was another Harry. Okay. Harry Moore is this guy.
Harry Moore came to investigate. I don't know if it was like on behalf of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle or something, but he showed up. He stayed at the house for 3 days. He brought several assistants with him. Apparently, they came up with like traps to try to like figure out
Oh my.
the rock pelting. They couldn't come up with anything. They never got an answer. All they could determine was that it was not of human agency, therefore it was
What?
supernatural agency. And he was convinced forever that it was in fact a poltergeist.
Wow.
And you never see this. This is like straight out of like the end of Hannah Montana, where some of the critics were really hating on Minnie, and they were like, she's obviously doing this, blah, blah, blah. And the whole town came to her defense, and they were like,
Aw,
you don't mess with her, blah, blah, blah.
you don't mess with Minnie.
I honestly, I wonder if the town was defending her or defending themselves, because they were like, we've been on fucking watch for several
Yeah, we're
days. Like,
protecting this family. Back off.
and also, it's like we've been on patrol, like we've been on the ground, and so many of us have been literally surrounding this house for days that if it was Minnie, we would have seen that. We've been
Yeah.
keeping tabs on the whole family.
Right, so it almost questions their intelligence too.
Yeah, so I don't know if they were really protecting Minnie or protecting themselves, but whatever. Um, they were like, we would have seen something. We've been watching all of them through the open windows. It was not her.
We've been
Eventually,
watching them through all their open windows. Sometimes we even took the shutters off if we couldn't see well enough inside.
So eventually, during an interrogation with the constables, maybe the new one who's on the clock,
Oh.
Minnie does eventually confess to throwing some of the rocks,
Oh.
but that she says that they were separate from a time, like I think it was just like a bad confession where like it now no one
It
can
taints
take
the whole
it.
story. Yeah.
Yeah, but she said, "Oh, I have done that in the past to scare my sister-in-law as a joke, but like but I'm not part of this." But
Okay.
it just made everything kind of muddied.
It's harder to believe now because even if it was just that and you tell yourself that, it's still like, okay, but she knew how to scare somebody by doing that. That's already
Mhm.
like quite a big step in the direction of,
Yeah, and I wish I knew more about like, okay, so she was getting pelted with rocks. Like, is she just telling her parents that, or did anyone see rocks appear out of nowhere
yeah. Or
hitting
was she
her?
doing that kind of like, oh, she's bouncing it off surfaces and being like,
Right.
ow.
Or
I
just
don't
like
know.
throwing it at herself and,
Listen, teenagers are so good at bullshit like this, you know?
I
Like
know.
I just never folks never underestimate the creativity of a teenager who wants attention. I'm not saying that's what's happening necessarily. I'm just saying in my mind, like I wouldn't put it past someone that
At the
age.
at the very least, if you're around the clock for an entire week watching someone else's house
Yeah.
outside, wondering if you're gonna get hit with rocks, it has crossed your mind if it was anyone in the house. It's crossed your
Yeah.
mind in all those
Yeah.
hours.
Well, and it seems like were the rocks not coming from like if they were all watching, did rocks just not get thrown during that time or were rocks still
Yeah. You would think that would get mentioned that like if it's
Yeah.
raining rocks, why is it not? But it must be raining rocks while they're there because they keep hearing the sounds and
But I
the
wonder
windows are
if
getting
she has them
smashed.
inside or something and is like
Yeah.
throwing them out of chimney, you know? Imagine you
Well,
throw it up the chimney and then it like
yeah,
bounces
that's a
down
good
the
point.
roof. This is me planning my next hijinks.
This would do numbers on Mythbusters for sure.
Right? Oh, good point.
So this led some people to her confession of that she has thrown rocks in the past to scare her sister-in-law, and we don't know the timeline on that. Like, did it muddy up the context? That led newspapers to stop reporting on the events altogether, concluding that it
Oh.
was a hoax. But the townspeople persisted in defending her, being like, "We have been watching her nonstop. She's not
Mm.
doing this." Then the rumor began among the police, we think, that maybe it wasn't Minnie, but it was the neighbors themselves.
Oh, shit.
As you said earlier, you just need one shitty kid in the yard to throw rocks
Yes.
at moments when no one's looking. But they thought that enough neighbors were in cahoots with each other that they would cover for each other and be like, okay, no one's looking, throw now. Or, oh, okay. So the
Oh.
cops think that a lot of people were in on it together. And
It
for
would even
some
just take
reason,
2 or 3 of like
yeah.
stupid teenagers to do something like that.
Um, the cops said something like they thought 5 or 6 of the neighbors were up to it. They referred to them as people who were sympathetic to the ghosts, like sympathizers.
So, ghost sympathizers.
And they thought that they were doing it to get possession of the house. Like maybe if they did it long enough, it would scare the family away and they could take the property.
They're just
Maybe.
like break enough windows and maybe you can have it.
But yeah, if you break enough windows, if you break enough of the house, eventually there is no house left to
Good
even
point.
own.
Yeah, you
Um,
keep throwing that 200-pound guy into the wall over and over again.
yeah, you get it.
Something will knock loose.
Well, so as these rumors spread of like, is it the neighbors? Is it Minnie? Basically, her parents were like, we have to get Minnie out of here because maybe she is responsible. Maybe she's not, and she's really actually being affected by ghosts. We should get her away from the ghosts too. So her parents send her to live with grandma for a month. Grandma lives 40 miles away in a town called I hope I'm saying it right, Ennis, Glen Ennis. But she lives nearby, far away enough, but nearby. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. A drive.
Yeah, a drive. And while Minnie was gone at Grandma's, the Bowen house had no more activity.
Hmm.
However, the first night at Grandma's house is getting pelted with stones.
Okay.
The neighbors at Grandma's have heard about the Guyra ghost through the newspapers, so as soon
Sure.
as they hear glass and
Oh
thing,
no.
like they run out, and because they've been hearing about these sounds and like houses shaking and all this stuff, so they run out immediately. The police come out immediately to investigate. Pretty much the same situation happens over here. And one of the neighbors even said that the sounds sounded like they were caused by an axe striking a heavy wall.
An axe strike. Oh my gosh, that's a lot.
Just
That's
like a big ass thud.
yeah, that's intense. Okay.
And Minnie is at Grandma's for a month. And so all these people are now being terrorized for a month. The same way that these other
And
neighbors
those other people are like
back in Gyra
realizing
were.
how good it is to just have a moment of peace. Yeah.
I know. They're like, let it be someone else's problem.
Wait a minute.
And because it had already been excused by a lot of newspapers as like a hoax by a teenager, nobody was covering this anymore.
Oh, right. Okay.
So the neighbors are getting much less help than the people in Gyra were.
Oh no.
And it's for a month nonstop of rocks and the window shattering. A poor grandma, by the way.
I
She's
was
like,
gonna
I
say.
shouldn't be dealing with this. And the neighbors, by the end of this month, fucking hate Minnie. They're like, I don't even know if you're
Minnie
responsible.
just can't. Oh, poor baby.
It's like, first of all, you're ugly. Second of all,
First
you're a
of
loser.
all,
Third
yeah.
of all, your fucking ghosts are annoying.
This is so sad.
So the neighbors end up hating her. They literally start protesting by moving out of their own houses and threatening to the police that they're not coming back to the town until Minnie's gone.
Oh my gosh. I love
And
that they could just do that.
I know. And so Grandma basically is told, your grandkid's got to get out of here.
Oh.
So she kicks Minnie out. Minnie goes back home to Gyra, and immediately Grandma's house is fine again. And the activity picks up at her parents' house.
That's a toughie because it's like, well, maybe the ghost is attached to her,
Yeah,
or maybe
exactly.
it's attached to the.
Or is she responsible? You'll
Or
never
is
know.
it her?
But they do know at least now that Minnie is somehow the focus of the
Yes,
activity.
that does seem to be clear.
Eventually, however, so she goes back home and things start picking up again. Eventually, it does fade away again, and many think, like, was that because the attention died out, or is that because Minnie grew out of adolescence and so it wasn't as intense?
Right.
Or did Minnie just get fucking bored, you know?
Yeah.
One source said that they had also witnessed other clairvoyant acts from Minnie at different points. I got this from one source. They said they had seen her like levitate shit and like, so I think that was just
Maybe
neighbors spreading
some
rumors.
hyperbole. Yeah.
Because another source said, the legend is that the activity continued and she saw stones pelting the window. No other source talked about that.
Okay.
But the most common thing that I saw throughout the sources is that Minnie grew up to have a very normal life. Unfortunately, she ended up dying by getting hit by a car and like decapitated, apparently.
What?
What did Michael Scott say? Her
Oh my God, literally
kappa was
that.
detated from her body or something.
Oh my God.
Like that, I only saw one source say that, but I know that she was at least hit by a car and then maybe later died.
Jesus,
It
Lord
ends up
in
being
heaven.
responsible for
Okay.
her death.
Yeah.
And
It's
one
dark.
source said decapitated. I don't know if that was again just like a stretch.
Levitating. Yeah.
Yeah, her head levitated.
Same guy. Yeah.
So I will say current occupants of the house say that there is no activity, but also that's because Minnie's not there, girl. So that
Good
doesn't
point.
help.
Yeah, there was an activity there when she was gone anyway. Yeah.
And the Guyra ghost, as it has been named, is one of Australia's best known cases of a poltergeist. And in the same year, 1921, a silent movie was actually made about the events there called The Guyra Ghost Mystery. But
Ooh.
I will tell you, it is considered lost media.
No, not again.
And very little is known about it, although it is rumored.
I need the commercials.
The commercials in
I need the
1921.
Subaru
Here's
commercial.
cocaine in your soda. It'll make you feel better.
Here, toddlers, drink this cocaine
So,
before you head to the mines in the morning.
I know. Are you 12 and need a wedding ring? Okay, so there's very little known about it, but it is rumored, which we will never know for sure, that the Bowen family actually made an appearance in the movie.
Oh, cool.
And the other rumor is that the original location, the Bowen residence, was also got like a cameo.
Little cameo. I love that we could just create rumors about it because nobody will ever know.
In it, also, she's supposed to levitate, I think. So,
Oh, in it, she also...
according to me.
What was the other thing we said? Oh, I don't want to say the decapitated thing. In it, that doesn't happen.
Oh, that doesn't happen for sure. No deaths. Actually, everything's totally fine.
Actually, it's just a really fun, like 13 going on 30 style preteen comedy. Yeah.
So it's assumed at this point that Minnie made up the ghost or it was attached to her, but we will never know. Although I will say the last thing I'll mention is there was one source that had a statement I didn't see anybody talking about, and I feel like this is important. I'm just going to read this. This is from this is from a different website than the Sunday Morning Herald. This is from The Star.
Okay.
And
another fabulous
reputable
source. Yeah.
So this is while the guards were still surrounding the house and there was stones getting thrown everywhere.
Okay.
These were the only stones thrown or noise heard by the constable during his stay. On the following night, he organized a secret guard. I never saw anywhere else but a fucking secret guard.
Is that what the night guard? I keep calling them that.
Maybe. It's weird.
I think that's what it is. Their neighborhood night guard.
Well, on the following night, he organized a secret guard, including some of the leading and most trusted residents of Guyra. Oh, this is when he's recruiting the neighbors to help
the neighborhood watch.
But nothing occurred. The next night, in company with the local sergeant, the constable took up a position in the bush on the southern side of the house. And then a respectable local farmer, Mr. Starr, he watched the northern side and saw a girl throwing several stones at the cottage. He informed the police. So this random farmer who was on watch, he saw this girl throwing stones. He informed the police, who questioned the girl, and she at first denied any knowledge of stone throwing on that day. But when confronted with Mr. Starr in the presence of her parents, she admitted to throwing the stones. The girl afterwards admitted that she was responsible for the knocking on the wall, which she effected by striking the inner walls at night with a stick when people were keeping watch outside. She remarked, "I was always careful that I was not watched or seen by anybody."
I used my mother's decorative stick so nobody would see my tool.
So apparently in that one article, it seems like they found the person. But then also, did they really, or did she want attention? Because how is that little girl using a decorative stick and hitting a wall so bad it's shaking the foundations?
So is she saying is this a different girl than the one that lives in? It's not Minnie.
Yeah, they're saying that they just saw when they were on watch, they saw a girl outside throwing rocks into the house.
When she explained the stick, was she saying at her own house or that she was like hitting Minnie's
I think she
house
said she
with
was
a
hitting Minnie's house with a stick, but then also going unnoticed. I don't know.
Like, was she inside it or whatever?
For all I know, this is just like someone like trying to like claim credibility, but
it also seems like a kid. If it seems like a kid in trouble wouldn't admit to it like on the spot like that. I mean, I don't know, maybe not, but I feel like a scared little girl, I would be like, I didn't do it if I didn't do it. But
no, I would be in full denial. But also maybe she was, I don't know. I have no idea, but it's another theory that I don't see anyone talking about, that someone straight up confessed.
Yeah.
You know?
Weird. I wonder why that's only there. Was that written back then too? Like back in the day when this was all getting covered?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, weird. Who knows?
Anyway, that is the Guyra ghost.
Wow. Okay. That was a wild one. I'd never heard of it before.
I like it. Also, I will tell you another ghost I'll be covering soon because I discovered it in my research. Something called the Humpty Doo Poltergeist. So get ready.
It's like these never end, you know? Like I know true crime never ends, but your section too just gets
dumber and dumber.
More interesting by the day, let's put it that way.
I definitely I saw that in one of the newspaper articles. They were like, step aside, Humpty Doo Poltergeist. And I went, what?
Actually, will you step back?
Step back real quick.
Step back real quick. Can I get a quick interview before you head out? Yeah.
So anyway,
have a few questions.
That's coming at some point.
Well, I'm very excited for that. So, folks, I know you are mid-text saying, submitting your topic idea to do the Humpty Dumpty. What is it?
Humpty Doo.
The Humpty Doo. So sounds like we're on it, folks. Okay.
Look, if you ever told me when we started this podcast one day we would be offered to do an ad about mac and cheese,
I'm gonna
would cry. I'm so excited we get to talk about Goodles. It is honestly some of the best mac and cheese. Allison and I have been eating through it.
So they have like some grown-up flavors, right? Like truffle or hatch chili, but then they also just have like cheddar, like they have
just like old school.
Yeah, M's more the old school. I'm more like, ooh, let's mix it up and make it weird,
Allison is the mix it up person. It works really well because we each get our own flavor and we don't have to share.
It's a perfect combo. Like Leona will take the cheddar and I'm taking the cacio e pepe.
And it's good for you because there are 14 grams of protein, 7 grams of fiber with prebiotics, and 21 vitamins and minerals from real plant sources. So.
It's also a low glycemic index food. It's steady energy instead of the carb crash, but it tastes just like a box of mac and cheese. It's also kosher and clean label, Purity Award certified, so don't worry. They even have vegan and gluten-free options, so everybody can enjoy.
Pick some up when you're out shopping. Goodles is available nationwide at major grocery stores, Target, and Walmart, and we know you're going to love Goodles as much as we do.
I recently learned that sleep is a lot more important to your overall health than any of us think. Your mental clarity, your mental health, just your livelihood in general. Proper sleep can increase focus, boost energy, and improve your mood. It cannot be understated, in my opinion. And that's why we are so excited to talk about Beam's Dream Powder, a science-backed healthy hot cocoa for sleep.
This bedtime essential is so decadent and totally guilt-free and available in delicious flavors. We have the brownie batter, but there's also sea salt caramel, there's vanilla chai, and the Beam Dream Powder original flavor cinnamon cocoa. I really like the brownie batter.
No, cinnamon cocoa is the one because it's the original one.
Other sleep aids can cause next day grogginess, but Dream contains a powerful all-natural blend of reishi, magnesium, L-theanine, apigenin, and melatonin to help you fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up refreshed.
It really does work, and it's really delicious.
Yeah, it's a wonderful headspace to put yourself in. It all starts with a nice hot cup of cocoa. If you want to try Beam's best-selling Dream Powder, get up to 40% off for a limited time when you go to shopbeam.com/ATWWD and use code ATWWD at checkout. That's shopbeam.com/ATWWD and use code ATWWD for up to 40% off.
Now, I have a story for you as well, Em, and this is the story of Patsy Wright.
Okay.
Patricia Virginia Patsy Wright, to be specific. So Patsy was born February 24th, 1944 in Texas, where she grew up alongside her sister, Sally. Their father, Thomas Bolton, made a significant living in the oil and gas industry in Texas, and he was a passionate history buff that his daughters described as an avid reader. And Sally, so Patsy's sister, had described him having this huge, my dream, I think a lot of probably our age, our generation's dream, have this indoor beautiful floor-to-ceiling library of books, not just decorative sticks, but yeah, the bell, the with the ladder, the whole 9 yards. But anyway, he had this like beautiful personal library with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, and he'd already read all the books in the shelves. Now that's interesting.
How do you have the time?
You are probably a rich man in the oil and gas industry.
That makes sense. Well, I also think about how you're barely putting a decorative stick on your built-ins, but he's got every book and he's read them all. That's amazing. You should feel bad about yourself, actually.
I do. I actively do. Thank you, though, for affirming it. Yeah, sorry. My job takes more time than, I guess,
making others drill
a dad
oil.
in the 1940s. Yeah. Sorry, I'm a little busy, but I guess not, Thomas. And I'm not bitter about it. It's fine. So anyway, eventually Thomas decided to dedicate a business to his passion, and he opened a museum. What kind of museum? A wax museum.
Now shut the fuck up.
I will not.
Now, Christine Schieffer.
I tell you.
When I tell you, there's nothing I love/hate more than a wax museum.
Love/hate. That is precisely how I feel. Thank you.
There is nothing. My wallet hates to see a wax museum coming because whether or not I'm having fun, I'm paying for it.
You are buying some merch. You are buying a souvenir.
That's exactly right.
Wow. Well, so he created a wax museum, and it featured wax figures which represented Thomas's vision of Texas history, like Davy Crockett, famous Confederate generals.
Oh.
He was also hugely inspired by Western gunslinger films, and the museum reportedly opened with an exhibit dedicated to 300 antique weapons used in the historical Southwest United States.
Okay, so remember when I said, "Oh, my wallet hates to see me"? I'm not going out of that one. I don't
This
think.
one we'll do skip on our road trip.
I don't know.
Another exhibit displayed, quote, 230 specimens of barbed wire.
Oh, that's actually pretty interesting. That feels like someone's on the spectrum. That feels like a special interest.
Okay, so now here's where I add a researcher's note that Saoirse added, which says, I grew up farming and still had to look into this. It turns out that barbed wire fencing can be twisted in different patterns, which has evolved over time, and people are very into this.
Yes,
There's
that sounds
even
yes.
an entire barbed wire museum with over 2,000 barbed wire pieces in La Crosse, Kansas.
Yeah, I could see my
Now, that museum I'm going to. Yeah.
Give me one night when I need a dopamine fix and the
Hyper-targeted
hyperfixation.
niche, like barbed wire formation. I'm in. I'm in.
I literally wrote in my phone, I have a list of things I like. If I ever have a night off and I need something to hyperfixate on, here are some new topics.
Fantastic.
Last night I wrote how to tie knots. And if
Oh.
you think I'm not going to change that to how to tie barbed wire, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, forget knots. That you've got knots the rest of your life.
Ooh.
Barbed wire, now that's a hot ticket item right there.
Now that I could get into. Okay, I'm coming back to this museum just for this.
Okay, La Crosse, Kansas. Do you guys want to go to do a live show wherever that is?
Bring your barbed wire and we'll all just do like a
little knitting circle.
A little knitting circle while we do our show.
Okay. So other figures on display at this museum were popular celebrities like Debbie Reynolds, along with religious figures, including an entire life-size replica of Leonardo da Vinci's The Last Supper. A wax one, I presume.
I should hope so.
I would hope
museum.
so at this point. Yeah,
I would be kind of pissed if like I paid money to go to a wax museum and then not everything was wax.
They just photocopied The Last Supper, and you were like, "Wait, what?"
It's how I imagine people feel that are clients of the Cake Boss, and then everything is Rice Krispies and PVC pipe.
And
I'm like,
feels
what
like,
the fuck?
that's
I paid for
cheating.
cake.
Yeah, exactly.
So I would pay for wax. I'd like to see wax.
I get it. So Sally and Patsy eventually went to work for their dad's museums, which was pretty cool. So Sally ran the office and Patsy was in PR, and this was a major success. They were really good at what they did. And so when Thomas passed away, Patsy and Sally inherited their dad's business together. The sisters were very business-minded. They grew the museum and its popularity through the late 70s and into the 80s. They made it very modern. They made it very hip with figures like Michael Jackson at the time, very trendy new wax figures for people to come look at. And when they unveiled an Elvis Presley exhibit on the, get this, 1-year anniversary of his death, over 8,000 people lined up to pay tribute to Elvis. Yeah. In January of 1987, Patsy and Sally opened a second location of the museum called the Plaza of Wax.
I feel like we could have done something cooler than that, but okay.
But doesn't Plaza feel very 80s?
I think everyone wanted
a plaza, like a
go
mall,
to the plaza.
A plaza, like it just feels very like 80s new 80s, like there's tile and stuff.
Maybe this is older than plaza, but I feel the same way, or I think my grandparents felt the same way about the word lounge or club.
Club is club. Yeah, that's a big one.
Let's go to the lounge.
That feels very 60s, doesn't it?
Does it?
Me, 70s,
and then plaza's 80s. What would today be?
I don't think we know until like 30 years from now when we go, oh, that's embarrassing.
Yeah, okay, good
Probably
point.
like Netflix and chill. I don't know. Bed rot. I don't know. There's a lot of options.
You don't know why? Because bed rot sounds like Bedrock from the Flintstones.
It does.
Which was a real place.
That
so you can just go
of bed rot. Yeah.
Okay, so at the plaza, is there food and everything there too? Or is this like a plaza, like a mall? Because my first thought is we could rename it Wax and Snacks. You know?
Like Wetzel's Pretzels. We'll go head to head. Yeah.
They won't see us coming. They don't stand a chance.
They won't. We'll kick them right out of this tiled plaza before you know it. So actually, this museum, the Plaza of Wax, opened in San Antonio across the street from the Alamo.
Hmm.
historical site. And the sisters prided themselves on thriving in an industry that was largely dying off throughout the US with, museums. They put together a management, advertising, like social team. They put everything together to make this a successful business. Sally was a socialite. Her friends described her as very charming, very beautiful. And although she grew up privileged and co owned businesses worth millions of dollars, people always called her very down to earth. She got along with everyone she met. And as for her sister, Patsy, who's the subject of this story, Patsy herself in 1987 was twice divorced with 2 children. She had her son, William, who was nicknamed Wayne, and Leslie, her daughter, and she had big plans for the future. She had recently begun the process of purchasing a multi-acre ranch where she
Hmm.
planned to live with her prized horses. So
Okay.
she's making moves. And keep in mind, she and her sister have this multi-million dollar thriving business. So they are, and she's twice divorced. She's like, I'm going to do me. Okay.
Good for her.
Right. So Patsy was pretty new to rodeo competitions. She was training on cutting her horse. Her horse's name was Dry Leo.
Hmm.
And cutting here refers to a horse used to cut or isolate individual livestock from the herd. And so this is according to Saoirse's notes. So
Okay.
cutting/sorting competitions involve isolating specific cows or animals from big groups to demonstrate your skill as a herder. So you're using this horse to contain an individual animal, if that makes sense.
Right.
It's apparently an extremely athletic sport. It requires a lot of training with your horse, and this is something she was just very passionate about. She'd actually won one of these competitions, which is really hard to do, and
Wow.
was eager to do more. So Patsy's city friends weren't so thrilled that she was living out on a ranch by herself. They were a little worried about that. And according to a 1989 article by Glenna Whitley in D Magazine, which I'm like, I don't know, is that Dallas? I have no idea what D
Oh
Magazine
yeah.
is.
I don't know.
Can you look it up?
D
Y-
for
D
that damn
Magazine.
magazine.
Oh, it is Dallas.
Oh, look at you.
It still exists. Well, so according to a 1989 article in D Magazine, which was written by Glenna Whitley, a friend actually called Patsy, during the time that she moved to this ranch. A friend called Patsy and told her about a dream that 2 men murdered her. She was like, I had a dream you got murdered, Patsy. I don't want you to move to this
Ooh.
ranch. And Patsy laughed and was like, oh, you're just worried. I'll be fine. She was, for what it's worth, very tough, very resilient, self-sufficient. She didn't want people's anxieties to stop her from living her dreams, so, I can respect that. Her daughter Leslie even said in an interview she was so alive. Like she was just one of those people that wanted to be out in the world and out in nature. And in autumn of 1987, she was actually living in a temporary rental while the ranch purchase was pending. And it was late October of 87. Patsy and Sally, the sisters, were preparing for Halloween events at the museums. That's right, even in October of 87. They were on top of the millennial Halloween fall craze.
Love that.
Love it. They were
Love
ahead of
that.
their time. They featured figures from horror classics, live actors in costume, so like jump
Ah,
scare stuff. And newspapers later reported, because this was ahead of the times. Like, I feel like
totally.
87 was early for like a jump scare attraction that had a lot of like thought and
Oh yeah.
planning.
I mean, I don't personally remember jump scare attractions being the way that they are today
Like
when I
today,
was
they're
growing
so
up.
involved. Yeah, exactly. And so basically, they had this huge event planned. Newspapers reported that 40,000 people attended the 9 day
Holy
event.
shit.
40,000.
Wow.
And so this was a hit, a smash success. They were very, very successful. So on Thursday, October 22nd, she went home after a successful dress rehearsal. They're even rehearsing this
That's so
Halloween event, which I
lovely.
fucking love. They take it seriously, their
They
work,
don't
which I
fuck around.
they
You don't
don't.
fuck around.
I appreciate that. Hours later, Sally's husband, Steve. So Sally is her sister. I'm sorry. So this is Sally and Steve. They're asleep. They wake up to a phone call at 3 a.m.
Okay.
Of course, it's a landline. So Sally's husband answers the phone, hands it to Sally, and it's Patsy on the other end of the line. And she is completely frantic. She tells her sister Sally that she had taken some cold medicine and something was really wrong and she could barely breathe.
Oh, fuck.
Patsy sounded desperate. She sounded sick. She sounded faint. So Sally hung up, immediately dialed 911, then realized too late she didn't know Sally's new rental address because it was
Oh,
a temporary
no.
rental. Oh my God, my anxiety. Like pre Find My Friends, I just can't even imagine.
Oh, my
Um,
God.
so she and Steve jumped in the car. They like rushed over there because they had to go get the address. Thank God they knew where it was. Sally didn't have a key though, so Steve had to run to the back of the house. He found one of the windows unlocked and climbed his way in. He then ran to the front door to let his wife Sally in, and Sally found her sister Patsy in her bedroom of this rental apartment,
Dead?
and she was dead.
Oh, no.
So they realized as they got to her that she wasn't breathing, and Sally called 911 again. They didn't know whether she had passed away yet or not, but she was not breathing. And so Sally called 911. Steve began CPR, and he's interviewed in an episode of Unsolved Mysteries I watched. And you can tell this was traumatic as it would be, right? But
Hmm.
it's just very chilling to hear him describe it. He said he alternated between chest compressions and mouth to mouth. And he said every time he gave Patsy breath, this green fluid would come out of her mouth and into
Green
his
fluid.
mouth. And he said he would just keep spitting it out and then keep trying CPR. Like he was just so in the zone and trying to
Wow.
frantically save her.
That's a good guy, because
Yep.
I feel like I would have panicked and been like, what the fuck's in my mouth?
Yeah. And he
Oh, my
just said
God.
he kept spitting it out and kept going. When paramedics arrived, they initially thought Patsy was responding to intervention, but then they realized that the readings on the monitor were only from the chest compressions. They weren't sustained by her actual heart. So Sally rode with Patsy to the hospital in the ambulance, but there was nothing anybody could do. She had passed away. It seemed impossible to family and friends, especially having just talked to her, and seeing her the night before. She was only 43 years old at this point, had everything going for her, had huge dreams. There was nothing wrong with her health wise that anybody knew about. And so a heart attack or a stroke just seemed unlikely to have
Right.
killed her so quickly,
Sure.
So, a brief death notice was published in the newspaper the following day requesting donations to charity in Patsy's name instead of flowers, and a memorial was held at a Baptist church that Sunday. So, for 8 days, her family just had to kind of wait because they just had questions and no answers, and they had to wait for Patsy's autopsy results to come through.
Oof.
So, the exam, which tested for thousands of substances in Patsy's body at the time of her death, revealed lethal levels of strychnine.
Okay.
Strychnine is a chemical naturally occurring in certain plants in South Asia and Australia, and extremely small doses of strychnine were used historically in medicine as a sort of stimulant. I mean, we just talked about cocaine, so, you
Yeah.
know, things change. People in the late 1800s and early 1900s apparently used it for athletic performance or to stay awake for a long
Hmm.
time, like a stimulant, and allegedly even for sexually enhancing your experience.
Sure.
Today it's used as a pesticide commonly used to kill rats. So, I wouldn't try that out at home, folks. If you're thinking of maybe a little DIY Viagra, don't
Sure.
don't use your rat poison, please. It's not worth it. So, today it's a pesticide, and strychnine is actually a very serious poison. And it's like when you say rat poison, that's why rat poison is, poisonous. It uses strychnine. So if you do accidentally inhale it, it is a serious poison, and if it gets into your body, it can have pretty serious consequences, serious side effects. If people put it intentionally into food and drinks, or if it has been snorted or accidentally injected into the vein when mixed with another drug like cocaine or heroin, it can kill you. And a little strychnine, according to the CDC, only a little strychnine is needed to cause serious effects. And a person who is experiencing strychnine poisoning usually develops symptoms between 15 minutes and an hour. And the way that it works is that the poison blocks nerve signals to the muscles and the person experiences severe, painful, and uncontrollable muscle spasms, which are referred to as, quote, awake seizures in some medical
Oh
publications.
my god.
It's an
Well,
incredibly horrible way to die. Brain function and consciousness are not affected, so you're still
oh
fully
no, so
conscious
you're
and
aware the
aware.
whole time.
Yep. And eventually your lungs, remember she said she couldn't breathe, your
Yeah.
lungs no longer function, and death is often a result of respiratory failure. Sometimes it's
Yikes.
kidney or liver failure, but it's a very gruesome way to die. And also a very rare way to die. It's not something that happens by accident very often. And so they knew as they did the autopsy that this had been intentional.
Wow.
So investigators needed to determine how the strychnine got into her system. And thank God she had called her sister and said, I took cold medicine. Remember,
Yeah.
she took cold medicine. And so they said, oh my God, it's NyQuil. She had it in her NyQuil. So on a hunch, an officer at the scene had even bagged the NyQuil bottle thinking it might be evidence. And so it was in storage and they were able to test it. And when they tested the NyQuil, it revealed massive amounts of strychnine.
And this is this how we learned that NyQuil needed a recall or something? Like,
No, it contained
oh.
massive amounts of strychnine, as in somebody put strychnine in her medicine.
Oh, I see. I was like, "Oh shit." I was like, "Is this a big like scandal that I didn't know about?" Okay.
No, that's
Got
why,
it.
yes, they knew it was intentional because there's no way this would happen by mistake.
Okay.
And so as
Sorry, NyQuil.
evidence, they they checked the NyQuil and there was a massive amount of strychnine inside it. And being an odorless powder, it would have just mixed in and she would never have known. And
And no one's ever drinking it and tasting it. You're always chasing it with something anyway, so you
trying not
wouldn't.
to like taste it. And
Yeah.
it has such a strong, potent like syrup flavor to
Ugh.
it that you wouldn't even realize if there's something extra bitter in there, you know.
Yeah.
But it's odorless, you wouldn't even notice, which is why it's so dangerous. And so basically the bitterness, she wouldn't have even noticed it probably, because it was already bitter medicine, you know. And so it was briefly considered maybe she had taken this, for suicidal purposes, but
Okay.
she didn't leave a note. She seemed to not be sure what was happening when she called her sister Sally and Steve, and so they kind of ruled that out pretty quickly. Um, Once the FBI and Vicks, NyQuil, and new enemy of M, because of that statement earlier,
She's an
uh,
op for sure. I like
Vicks.
I've always not been a fan, but I- this is just if I heard this horror story when I was younger, it would have really terrified me.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I get that. So they of course determined very quickly there were no other consumer strychnine poisoning cases. This was not product tampering. It wasn't somebody at the store who did it.
Yeah.
They believed it was someone who knew Patsy intimately. And Patsy actually often took NyQuil if she couldn't fall asleep. And so this was something her family and friends knew about her. It wasn't necessarily like, oh, there's NyQuil in the cupboard for the next time I have a cold in 6 months. It was like
Yeah.
every
And
now and
some
then she
people
would drink it.
had done that in the past or have done that in the
Oh,
past too,
I
not
do
just
that
her. It's like,
all
oh,
the
well,
time.
it's a sleeping agent. Yeah.
I don't recommend it, but and it's probably not safe, but I do that sometimes, so I get it. Well, now they make ZQuil too, which is like for sleeping.
Right.
Anyway, okay, so they believe this was a targeted attack, and that somebody knew she would eventually take NyQuil pretty soon, and that it would kill her. Her friend Karen even told D Magazine, I used to tease her about being a NyQuil head. Like, just don't drink NyQuil to go to sleep.
Hmm.
Someone who knew Patsy, her habits, and her bedtime routine must have poisoned the medicine and just waited for the next time she drank it. So whoever had done it seemed to be in no rush, right? Because it could have taken like a week, it could have taken like 2 weeks. Who knew like when she would eventually drink some NyQuil?
Hmm.
But they knew it would happen soon. And the house alarm hadn't been set when Sally and Steve arrived. There were actually two dinner plates on a table in Patsy's bedroom when Steve and Sally arrived. And remember, she was
Mm.
divorced and was living alone. So they did not know who this second dinner plate was for.
Yeah. Okay. So far it's looking like that guy spiked her something.
Somebody may have been involved here. So it's possible someone Patsy was close to could have been there late that night, but it didn't necessarily make them the killer. It just was a curious addition to
Hmm.
potentially what could be a motive. So, inheritance and money were the big ones, the big potential motives. And when Thomas Bolton died, Sally and Patsy reportedly had to battle their stepmother in court for their dad's estate. So
Oh
there was
boy.
already some tension in the family about money. Patsy said she would never make her own children go through anything like that, and their inheritance was very secure, and she didn't want them to have to fight, a parent for
Sure.
for access to that money. But Wayne and Leslie were extremely close with their mother, and their friends felt Patsy treated them as her own family when they came over to see Wayne and Leslie. So both were quickly ruled out because at this
Okay.
point they were older. According to Patsy's friends, she was not fond of her brother in law, Steve, and she had signed legal agreements with Sally, her sister, dictating the inheritance of life insurance and stocks to make sure Steve would never own majority assets in the museum business.
Damn, Steve.
And he's the one who did the CPR with the green stuff coming up and all that.
That's tough.
It's
That's
got to
tough.
be really
Awkward.
just a high tense, high stakes situation here, drama. So they looked at Steve and thought, well, if he knew about him being cut out of any potential business at the in the museums, maybe he had something to do with it. But then we think about the CPR, the mouth to mouth. If he had put strychnine in her medicine, he probably wouldn't have put his mouth on hers and
Yeah, great point.
then kept going when a
And kept
liquid
going.
came into his mouth. Like that. Because at
100%.
first I was watching, I was like, why are they saying that? That's so gruesome and feels
No, it makes
irrelevant.
total sense.
And then later I thought, wait a minute, yeah, that makes total sense. You wouldn't
I would argue
risk it.
he's the clearest of
Yes.
them all.
Yes. It's almost like he probably freaked out afterward, like, uh-oh, that could have gone badly.
Yeah.
One source actually says that a paramedic told the detectives that based on fluid in Sally's mouth when they began professional CPR, it actually didn't even seem like anyone had done proper CPR on her prior to their arrival. And the same source also claimed that no one else reported seeing the dinner plates set out and that Steve had actually been the one to report 2 dinner plates, but nobody else had noticed that. So some people
Mm.
say, well, he didn't really do real CPR, so he just made that up about the liquid or whatever as like a way to say, well, I wouldn't have done that, if
Right.
I knew she was poisoned, which seems like kind of a weird stretch to me, but what do I know? But the fact that he was the one who reported the 2 dinner plates, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if that's odd or not.
I don't think it's odd. Not yet.
Not yet. So it's he said, she said, he said, they said, whatever. It's not a reliable source for a murder accusation, and it's also very possible that Steve just did CPR but didn't do it properly because he didn't know how, which I
Mhm.
imagine most people, even if they tried, don't know how, including myself. It's something
Same.
that
I tried it on one of those airport things, and I could not save the
I
dummy.
know, yeah. It's really hard for me too. I'm not good at it, but I want to practice a little bit more.
Let's practice on
So
each other. Break each other's ribs.
Great. Great idea. Yes, CPR, as Saoirse notes here, is a precise skill set that people commonly misperform, which is why certifications only last usually 1 to 3 years before you are
Mm.
required to retrain. So, if you are considering that, take this as a sign. I know I will. Steve and Sally sought out a private detective for more answers while detectives looked elsewhere. Now, Patsy had been dating a man named Leo Fikes, which I think her horse was also named Leo, as I said. So
Yeah,
interesting.
dry Leo.
Dry Leo, yes. And Leo Fikes, but they had different visions of what the future looked like together. According to Leo, they were in love, but Patsy had already gotten married twice. She didn't want to get remarried. And Leo felt kind of rejected by that. So they had been estranged for months and they had gotten together a couple times. But Leo said in an interview that it was difficult being a suspect because he was already in so much pain about the breakup. And now suddenly he's like, the spotlight's on him as a potential suspect. And so, he cooperated. He did a polygraph. He seemed like an unlikely culprit and they couldn't tie it to him. So he was
Mm.
let go. Likewise, Patsy's first ex husband also didn't fit the bill. He had since remarried. He was reportedly on very friendly terms with Patsy. Apparently, he was even listed as the executor of her will. Like, that's how close they were. So it didn't really make
Wow.
sense that, he would have had some vengeance against her.
Sure.
Patsy's second ex-husband, however, was a different story. Okay, this guy, his name was Bob or Robert Cox, and he actually once owned his own wax museum.
Oh man, competition is eh, that doesn't sound good. That sounds like they're arch enemies.
They're not because his failed miserably.
Oh. But that also sounds like a good motive.
Exactly. He
Okay.
asked Patsy and Sally to purchase it from him, but they offered much less than he had hoped. And instead, he asked Patsy out, and the two ended up married.
Wow.
But Bob was a shithead, and he treated Patsy terribly. She financially supported him, she supported his gambling habit. They ultimately divorced on bad terms, and she was granted a restraining order because he harassed her so constantly.
Wow.
She also believed and had told friends and family that he was driving by her house some nights and even parking nearby to intimidate and stalk her.
Oh my god. Okay. Hello.
Hello, ding ding ding. Bob, whose failing museum had mysteriously caught fire recently,
Oh my god, he is looking worse and worse. Okay.
was being tried in civil court for arson related to an insurance fraud scheme, and Patsy was on the hook to testify against him in an upcoming trial.
Well, we have found our slam dunk, yes?
I would say so.
Okay.
He even reportedly called her, demanding that she change her story, but Patsy told him she was going to tell the truth. And wouldn't you know it, she was killed just days before the trial.
So are we thinking like he was being sweet on her and saying like, "Oh, let me make you dinner. Let me come over and we'll talk it out." Blah blah
I
blah.
wonder. I don't know.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Hmm.
Your guess is
Christine.
as good at mine as mine. Bob won the trial, so it couldn't be proven that he set the fire. Because no arrest was made, we have to assume that honestly, we don't know if he did it. I'm with you that I find it to be a very compelling slam dunk, but there has not been an arrest, so there must not be enough evidence to indict him with the murder. And as of right now, the case remains unsolved and open.
Wow, wild.
Yeah, so September of 1988, 11 months after Patsy died, the Southwest Historical Wax Museum burned to the ground, and everything inside it was destroyed.
Christine Schieffer.
It took roughly 100 firefighters from multiple cities hours to control the fire.
Holy shit.
And the El Paso Times ran the news under the headline, "Just a bit too warm," which I would argue is too soon, but okay.
Too soon. Yeah. Especially like a wax museum. You just put a wick in that. You've got a bunch of like 6 foot candles. My god.
Yeah, yeah, it's not gonna end well.
No,
Although wax isn't flammable, is it? Because it's wax.
wouldn't you think wax would just become like it would just turn into a really sloppy puddle and then you wouldn't
I
be able to
guess.
because I'm thinking about if I took a candle right now, tried to catch it on fire without
Oh,
the
wait, you're
wick,
totally right. It would keep the wick
wouldn't it at least
suspended somehow, or not the wick, but like any sort of something on fire, I guess, if it was in a bunch of melted wax.
I guess
I
my
don't know.
thought is if it well maybe once the wax melted down, anything sitting in the puddle
That's what
of
I
wax
mean.
became the
It's like
wick of a
suspended
candle.
in the puddle of liquid wax now.
Uh-huh. It'd be a very interesting sight,
I would just
regardless
be
of the
curious.
tragedy.
Yeah, it's a tragedy for sure. Yeah, it just seems like too obvious, right, for a
Yeah.
wax museum to burn down, but that's
Well, I would imagine
precisely
a
what
wax
happened.
museum's biggest fear is a fire,
Right,
right?
I guess. Right, exactly. It's
So
like the only like what do you kryptonite of
yes.
fake Elvis.
Yeah.
Anyway, so basically this took hours, then there was that headline. The fire appeared to be electrical in nature and wasn't ruled an arson. Although it was just very weird timing and context and circumstances, especially with that other guy, her ex-husband, like being on trial for arson of his own wax museum.
Yeah.
And now another wax museum goes up in flames. It's just after a murder. It was just so weird. It's so weird. So again, I want to be clear. He was not arrested. I'm not saying he did it. I don't know what happened, and it's very clear nobody seems to have an answer. But either way, it's all very, very tragic. A new wax museum was rebuilt on the same site in Grand Prairie, Texas, along with a Ripley's Believe It or Not inside. And
Nice.
so, in an interview, Patsy's daughter Leslie said it was difficult to know she probably is close with whoever did this to her mother or knows
Mhm.
them. You know, it
Yeah.
must just be like such a upsetting feeling. She and her brother Wayne were saying like, we know everyone she knew. We were all very tight knit. and it's like, who would have done this, you
I
know?
mean, it's also the without it's like a monster among us. It's like
Yes.
who am I keeping in touch with? It makes you want to keep in touch with fucking nobody
It's
because
almost
like
scary.
how could
Yeah,
you
it's
trust?
it's like, how do you keep yourself safe, and who can you trust? And how can you trust yourself if you don't even know who it is, you know? That's also scary.
Yeah.
Anyway, so someone might one day come forward, hopefully, with a piece of knowledge that'll, finally crack the case. But for now, those who knew Patsy remember her online and memorial pages, forums, that kind of thing. People still share anecdotes about her online, and talk about what a loving, generous, adventurous person she was. And seeing her kids being interviewed, they seem like really awesome people too. So, I don't
Wow.
know what anyone's up to nowadays, but it's a pretty dark tale.
Yeah.
That's the story.
Wow.
The end.
The end. I had you've covered a lot in your stories. I think Wax Museum that was the first for you.
I think you're right.
I
Have
think
you
we've
done a haunted wax museum?
no, which is interesting because I personally believe every wax museum is haunted.
I mean, I think despite whether we believe in ghosts or not, everyone knows a wax museum is haunted.
It's the
Like,
uncanny
it
valleyness of it.
is.
It's just
Whether you believe in ghosts or not, we all know. We all know there's something not right in a wax
I
museum.
in Hot Springs, Arkansas, I went with my mom one time.
Oh, yes.
And I've definitely told you this story before, but we ended up at the world's creepiest wax museum. And wax museums are inherently creepy. This one fucking took the
Exactly.
cake.
That's
If
so
you happen
scary.
to be from Hot Springs, can you please tell me what the hell the name of that place was?
And can
Because
you
it
tell me
was
what the hell is
so
going on?
weird.
Well, when you said it, it sounded like that was the name of it. The
Oh,
world's creepiest wax museum. Like, it sounded like
well,
I went to the world's creepiest wax museum.
that makes sense. No, it just felt the creepiest. And also, my mom and I, like, it felt like it was out of a Goosebumps movie because we opened the door, all the lights were off. I honestly think it was closed and someone forgot to lock the front door because we walked in, didn't see a
I
goddamn
found
person,
it.
never paid a ticket.
Josephine Tussaud Wax
Yes.
Museum.
Yes, it was like a knockoff Madame Tussauds. And we thought it was, I think it's Madame Tussauds like
I was gonna
sister
say,
or something.
I think it's a family member because it's the same last name.
But we wouldn't, I am 90% sure that it was actually closed and someone forgot to close the door and we just waltzed in because the lights were
Which is
completely
like
off.
so scary, dude.
Never met a person, never
No, not a
bought
single
ticket,
person.
never bought a ticket. We just kept wandering, waiting to find someone, and
Can you
eventually we
tell
were
me
in
what
the
year?
exhibits.
What year was that?
2015.
2015.
It
Yeah, so
was the
I'm
road trip
curious.
on the way to LA.
Yeah, if people out there know about this place and if that's something that would happen, let us know. Like, if
There,
it's
the pictures we took, and I mean, another reason why it was so fucking creepy is because like, if the building was closed and we just waltzed in, there was no music, there was
oh
no
my
ambiance. It was just
god.
walking amongst the scariest fucking wax figures you've ever seen. And there was like several religious sets because it was Arkansas. I was just like, where the hell are we? And there was like kind of like a fairy tale space,
Oh,
but
Em, I
everything
think
looked knockoff.
I
Everything.
don't know. It looks kind of like, oh, well, no, there is paid admission, but it says the museum is open daily year round. So maybe they just let people wander in. I don't
Is
know.
it just a free thing? I don't know what it was,
No,
but it
it's
was
like
creepy
15
as shit.
bucks.
Oh, we did not pay.
Yeah, well, obviously there's nobody there to take your payment.
Anyway, if you ever get a chance to go to that museum, imagine all the lights off with no music and you're alone in there with your mom. It's really fucking creepy.
I love that, like, you're alone there with your mom. Your mom has to be part of it if you're imagining this.
And halfway through, we were like, I think it's
Oh,
closed.
they now do 4D virtual reality.
Shut up.
And they just said, I don't know if they had this back then. Their website says, the Gambling Museum is our newest addition. So
Oh
now
my
they have a
god.
gambling
And
museum.
by the way, I kind of feel like there was a gambling situation. I don't really remember. Maybe I'm forcing a memory, but um, nothing creepier than a wax museum doing a 4D exhibit. Does that mean the wax people now like talk to you
Like,
or
move
something?
and breathe. Oh, God, this is my night. This is a horror movie. Wait, Em,
What?
this is so cool. At the end of the tour, do you remember anything about the end? Well, you didn't do a tour, but do you remember anything about the end of the tour?
No, it was literally 10 years ago. I don't remember anything now.
At the end of the tour, you were able to check out the escape tunnel the gangsters used to get away when the police raided the casino. You can literally fall in Al Capone's footsteps. So they basically take you to a tunnel that Al Capone ran through.
Don't remember that at all. Nope.
Yeah, this would be the scariest place to be when it's closed.
Haven't I think I sent you the picture I have of my mom.
Oh, yes. Oh my God, you did.
We should post that
We
because
should
it's the
post
most
that.
embarrassing
It's
picture of my mother.
so good.
Because
It's so good.
at some point it was I don't know how to explain it except that she was just trying to pose by this really creepy wax figure, and it accidentally turned out with the positioning of the camera, it looks like a sexual act is being made. And I was
But
just
it's so
like,
much better because it was accidental, right? Like it wasn't on
here it is.
purpose.
I'm sending it to you right
You
now.
already have it? Oh my God.
And yeah, it's actually on my Instagram all the way down in 2017.
Wait, we have to add this to the group.
The caption for it was "Missing my mom, whose greatest talent is posing for pictures at the worst angle." And my mother liked it, so yeah, I think she'd be fine if we posted it again.
God, that's a horrible pic. That's from that place?
Yeah, that's and can you confirm it's fucking dark in there? Like,
it's scary, and also that thing looks like it's gonna attack you any moment. Look at it.
Looks like
how
it's
mad
mid attack. I mean,
and also like your battery is like really threatening to me. Also up here, it's at like 1%. This is all really, really toxic. Okay.
Well, anyway, with that, if you'd like to go see a picture of my mom that's a little X-rated with a dark wax museum figure,
I would say it's a little R-rated. I wouldn't say it's X-rated. I think
it's certainly
but it's definitely suggestive.
she wouldn't post it on her LinkedIn. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I would say maybe not. I wouldn't recommend she do that either. Yeah.
She looks so happy. She's fine.
She's having a great time.
Anyway, if you live in Hot Springs, Arkansas, please let them know they should lock their doors when they close. And that's it. And
that's
why
we
drink.